talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan vans or head to your local Nissan van centre.
Good afternoon. With your headlines at 1 o'clock, I'm Uma Gurav. A sigh of relief from Thomas Frank, who's safe at Spurs after last night's win over Dortmund. But for how long? Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
Thomas Frank will be in charge for Burnley away at the weekend. I think he's brought himself a little bit of time. There are still members of the board who I think are uncertain about his future long term, but equally there are still some in the hierarchy who are pushing for patience.
Spurs up to fourth in the Champions League table. Meanwhile, is the returning Rodri making Man City worse?
If you look back to the form, they were flying before he came back to start playing. It's almost like he slowed them down a bit. And I thought it'd be the other way around, like maybe we all did. You know, he comes back, it's kind of the icing on the cake.
The Guardian's Manchester correspondent Jamie Jackson says Rodri's form is a concern. He was sent off in City's 3-1 loss to Bodo Glimt. Elsewhere today, Jean-Philippe Mateta has told Crystal Palace he wants out, although he stopped short of handing in a transfer request. Bournemouth, meanwhile, look to have found a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand they've agreed a deal with Vasco da Gama to sign 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. Plus, we're told Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. That follows Boubacar Kamara's serious knee injury. Meanwhile, a mistake that must not be repeated after Harry Brook's apology to his teammates after that bust-up with a bouncer on England's dreadful Ashes tour. Bumble has told us he deserves forgiveness as long as he learns his lesson.
He's made a mistake. He's a young fella. You'll give him one strike, won't you? You've made a mistake and you move on from that. There's plenty have done that.
And the WSL has warned FIFA their scheduling of the Women's Club World Cup would be catastrophic for player welfare. The current plans are to hold it halfway through the WSL season in 2028. All your latest is at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
How far will Donald Trump go in his pursuit of Greenland? We wait to hear from him at the World Economic Forum. And Prince Harry is giving evidence in his case against the Daily Mail's publisher. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Across Scotland, it's clearing up to leave sunny spells. Elsewhere, gloomy as bands of rain move to the northwest.
Good afternoon, you are listening to talkSPORT, where between now and 4 you'll be guided through the world of sport by me, Max Rushden, and not, as the jingle told you, but with the media powerhouse that is Andy Jacobs.
Yes, Max, when I broadcast, people listen. That's not true. So listen up real good. Lars Sivertsen will join us to talk about Bodo Glimt's stunning performance and round up the rest of the Champions League action. And comedian Andy Parsons is in to tell us about his new tour.
We'll ask if Donald Trump really is going to do it on a cold Wednesday afternoon in Greenland and whether anyone will boycott the World Cup because of it. Feel the rhythm. The Jamaican bobsleigh team have 3 qualified teams in the 2026 Winter Olympics. We'll speak to one of their athletes.
Virgin Radio's Emma B will tell us about her new podcast about running the marathon. Steve Harmerson is on to talk about Harry Brook nightclubs and to look ahead of England's tour of Sri Lanka. And Tony Cascarino will tell the Liverpool players what to expect this evening in Marseille. Probably quite hostile would be my imagination.
Yes, well, let's see what Cass says. Hold your breath until 3:45 for Tony Cascarino. In the meantime, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Max. I hope you don't mind if I sound a bit tired today, but I didn't want an advantage over you, so I stayed awake all night.
I appreciate
I even
that.
borrowed a neighbour's 2-year-old baby to keep me company. Actually, I
Did
am
you sleep train it? Did you sleep train it, Andy, or
No,
did
I
you
didn't.
just, did you let it cry out, or were you there patting him every 2 hours?
No, I was just talking to him about Chelsea. Really, he got bored.
Oh,
in
I
the
see.
And,
So that's how you honestly could make an absolute packet
I could.
by just saying, my baby won't sleep. And you say, well, look, if you bring them round to Andy's house after a poor Chelsea performance and just get him going on that, they will sleep for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Now, I'm actually worried that you might fall asleep during the show today. Because
Every
it's so
chance. There's every chance.
That hasn't happened on talkSPORT since Bob Mills fell asleep on Jim White's show.
Well, actually, to be fair,
I love Bob, but Simon's giving it a bit of a lift.
To be fair to Jim, I think Bob, every time I did a show with Bob, around midday, he'd have the little midday 10 minutes. And actually, I think it's quite a good idea, isn't it? It's every show, there was just 10 minutes where each presenter could just have a little bit of a break. There are some, like the footballer game on a Sunday, Barry doesn't make any noise for about 10 minutes. So if there's a bit of the show where you could just have, if you want 10 minutes off, that's fine. What I will say about these working hours for me, as the listeners know, I'm in a shed in Australia. The last hour, one of the bosses did say, you are on YouTube now. Can you yawn during the ad breaks? That's what they said.
That's a good point, really, yeah. Now, to last night's games and the Inter-Arsenal game, I did notice that John Champion, at one point, just as it was coming to half-time, said the Inter supporters around him were off to get a cappuccino. Now, Italians would never drink cappuccino after 11 a.m.
Sacrilege. That's sacrilege.
Espresso, possibly macchiato, so John should have known that. But to be fair to him, I did do a bit of in-depth work on this, and there are regional differences. In some parts of northern Italy, i.e. Milan, it's not uncommon to have a cappuccino in the afternoon as a snack. But this was a night game, so you're still wrong, John, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and it's outrageous. It's the sort of thing you'd expect John Champion to know. Although Ali wasn't next to him, was he? And, that was the sort of symbiotic relationship where McCoist would come in and say, I think you'll find, John, it's not a cappuccino that late. Yeah? Do you know what? I once ordered a cappuccino, I think it was in Milan, at about 3 p.m, and my Italian friends were absolutely incandescent.
They would be horrified. Looking good for Arsenal, of course. They must be favourites for this competition. We'll have a chat about that, the football side of it, with Lars. But I noticed that DeMarco, the left wing back for Inter, he's got this thing where he's got sort of blonde highlights that go. He's done to sort of try and cover his bald spot, but it makes it look 10 times worse than the wide shot. It just looks like he's completely bald. And I was thinking he looks a bit like a vintage Bobby Charlton. And I was thinking my reference point for bald footballers is always Bill Punton. And I looked him up.
Bill Punton
of Sheffield United. He's still with us at 91.
Yes.
15-year career.
Has he been to Turkey to be rethatched?
No,
Do we know? Does he?
No. I should send you the photo. I took a photo of him. Well, not actually took a photo of him. I grabbed a photo from the internet. I didn't go around to Bill's house. You're my reference point.
You don't know me. It's like, who are you? Don't let any strangers in. Yeah. Here's Bill. What's his name?
Bill Punton.
Bill Punton. Right, and that's great because that is no hair up to about, I'd say, 3/4 of the way back, and then actually a sort of full head of hair at the back.
But I knew him more. That was his early days. I knew him more in his Sheffield United days, which is the one on the left. To the right.
Yeah,
you're right. That's right. So
yes, you're right. My left. Okay, so Bill Punton. That you're saying that's the bald footballer, that whenever you think of a bald footballer, you go, that's where it goes.
What about you?
That's interesting. Do you know what? There's a lot of me that when you first said it to me, you said, have a think before the show. This was our production meeting, when you think of a bald footballer, who is it? And do you know who first springs to mind? Well, obviously Bobby Charlton there, Charlton. Lombardo is the first. My mind goes to Attilio Lombardo Steve Agnew. Two very similar players.
Look up Steve Agnew.
Steve Agnew. I'm going to say Port Vale. Things I can't remember who he played for, but I can remember he was bald. But I'm going to say Agnew or Lombardo. But it's an excellent question, and the listeners can get involved with when we say bald footballer. Who do you think of?
Yes.
Because people will say Zizou, won't they? But you're right. Lombardo was the first thing that came to mind.
Steve. Yes, look at that. Brilliant.
I've forgotten about him. Really good stuff. If everybody at home could Google image a picture of Steve Agnew just to feel part of this segment and then go, oh yes, what a bald man Steve Agnew is. Yes.
Wouldn't it be funny?
Now, Andy.
Wouldn't it be funny?
I don't know yet.
If Spurs finished 17th and won the Champions League,
Absolutely amazing.
They possibly could. They look so good. And they haven't lost a Champions League game since 2020, and yet they can't buy a win at home in the league. I mean, it's not that much. I know the Premier League's quite a hard league, and some of the games in the Champions League are easier, but they made short work of Dortmund, really, even before the sending off.
Yeah, Dortmund have to be better than West Ham, don't they? That's what you have to think of the last few days. Because Dortmund are, second in the Bundesliga, and that might be a slightly false position for them. But yes, what was interesting about that game, I thought, was, and we'll get into it with Lars as well, was, you're right, before the red card, Tottenham were playing this football that they have not played under Thomas Frank for a long time. Like it was, they were passing the ball to each other. They were passing the ball forwards. They were doing all these things that were really
revolutionary.
Yeah, they were extraordinary. They had a centre forward who could hold it up, didn't just bounce off him.
His hold-up play is fantastic.
It makes such a difference.
Brilliant, honestly.
Yeah.
He needed that goal. He's not a great finisher, but his hold-up play and his work rate, tremendous. No question about it. And
there was just a moment when he just took the ball, he out-muscled someone and held it up and then laid it off to someone. I thought, I haven't seen any of the other sort of iterations of a centre forward do that for Spurs. But the only thing is, the second half was a bit stodgy, and fair enough, because Tottenham don't have any fit players. They're 2-0 up. You don't need to, you've got to win. Frank has to win the next game as well to save his job. And
the Burnley game is the one. I mean, everybody knows that. It's a much harder game.
It is, and objectively, Dr. Tottenham is hilarious, right? Bournemouth were, 11 without a win? West Ham were 10. Burnley are 13 without a win. It's sort of not possible to keep giving these sides wins.
Yeah, but Burnley, it's that Premier League thing, isn't it? They go to Liverpool and get a point, and there's just no easy games. But you should be encouraged by Xavi Simons. I think he's definitely improving.
Yeah,
I think he's
lovely player.
The signs are there. There's no question about that.
Pascal Segan says this text, always Jaap Stam, says Ben in Oslo. I'll tell you.
That's more
if we have time,
bald, isn't it? That though. I'm more your virtually bald pate, a bit like myself.
Right, I see. You want a sort of... You're basically the Friar Tuck, is what you're looking... Is it the Friar Tuck?
Well, it's not really the Friar Tuck. It's more
not the Friar Tuck, is it?
It's more the sides
Who is the Friar Tuck of football? It's a good question. Ralph Coates says Kerry. A lot say Ralph Coates is a very Jerry Blas say Ralph Coates. Gianluca Vialli instantly says Dan.
I'm not going completely... That's completely boring. I think that's a different thing. I think it's got to be that receding thing. Right,
I understand. I mean, to be fair to the audience, we didn't specify, what we were hoping for. We just said balls. So you are allowed. I mean, it does fit.
Contributed, really.
It is very kind of them, isn't it? Anything else, Andy, or do you want to get on with this programme?
Can you see any other team beating Arsenal in this, in this Champions League? Because I looked at the teams that are about that could beat them. I was thinking PSG, no, not really. They're not playing very well. Real Madrid, they've got a few problems. Bayern, I think, are overrated. Another English team, possibly, not really, because Arsenal are better than those. Barcelona, a bit flaky. You saw what happened when they played Chelsea. I've got a feeling Arsenal are going to win this.
Well, Arsenal should, with the depth they have, they've got a chance of having an unbelievable season. But they also have a chance of not quite having an unbelievable season. And that, for the neutrals, would be tremendous. Would be to come second somehow to Aston Villa and to lose the Champions League final.
Not going to happen.
No, I think, but they have a brilliant squad. They swatted into were okay in that game, but they swatted them aside, I thought.
I'm seeing sort of things around on the media, people saying, is this the worst team to win the Premier League? Is this they've got no strength? Real criticism of Arsenal. You think, look, they're clearly the best team. It's not their fault nobody else is any good.
They might be the best team in Europe. The depth they have it's a ridiculous thing to say. That sounds like
I'm no Arsenal fan, as people know, but you've got to give credit where credit's due.
Neither am I. But you're right. People are saying that because they want to get 1 million hits on Instagram. We're not. We're interested in the long form content here, Andy. You're not going to get that sensation.
We're not like the Beckhams. We don't send each other public Instagram messages in the hope of currying favour with the public.
Well, it's true, but by the same token, there's not the sort of fraught baggage between you and me that I suspect there is between David and Brooklyn. I don't know. If I was going to send a long message about my personal relationship with someone, Andy, it probably wouldn't. I mean, I don't really have any terrible relations. I try and avoid that. Try and stay around positive people. If you want, I can send a lot. I don't think we'll get the traction that Brooklyn got if I do a story saying Andy Jacobs has ruined my life, and the way he danced with me at the wedding was absolutely disgraceful. The way he grinded with me in front of Jamie was an absolute...
I'm well known for that.
For shame, Andy. How could you?
I know.
Anyway, you are listening to Rushden and Jacobs on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Stay one step up ahead. Whatever the job, next stop, Toolstation. Lars Sivertsen, our Bodo Glimt correspondent, will join us in just a second.
Manchester City desperate to bounce back from Derby Day defeat. Can they do that here in the Arctic Circle?
Hauger shoots right-footed! What a goal! Hauger has scored a third on a history-making night for the team from Norway.
Truly wonderful goal.
Rodri is sent off. A second yellow card. An embarrassing night for Manchester City.
It's all pretty tough, to be frank. But win tonight, and this patched-up Spurs side could yet finish in the top 8 of the Champions League. It's Oliver and Porro linking up again. Ball in for Solanke. He has scuffed it in. And Spurs lead by 2-0. Team have given the Tottenham Power Brokers something to think about, because that was a vast improvement in really difficult circumstances.
Comes back to Gyökeres, who puts it in the top corner. Stunning finish.
This really is top-class football from Arsenal.
It's another victory for Arsenal. They'd never won 7 European games in a row. They have now finished into 1. Arsenal 3.
Oh, yeah, brilliant finish from Gyökeres. We'll get on to that. But it is Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you on talkSPORT till 4. Let's bring in European football expert Lars Sivertsen for a couple of bits. Hey, Lars.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
Very good. And you are a proud Norwegian man.
I am.
There have been some great nights for Bodo Glimt, but I presume this is the greatest, right?
Yeah, we were discussing this. I was not at the game. I was at a pub in Oslo watching it, but I was in Norway, and we were just sort of chatting. Is this the biggest result for a Norwegian club team ever? And the consensus is that Rosenborg beating Milan away from home back in 96 to qualify to the knockouts was maybe just about edges it. So maybe the second biggest result in Norwegian club football history, I think, is a fair thing to say. And we have, on the one hand, become a little bit spoiled with Bodo Glimt doing incredible things. But, you know, this was Manchester City, who are, an extremely dominant team. I think City's wage bill is about like £400 million or something, and Bodo Glimt is 20. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there with the finances. So it is remarkable. And I think the interesting thing about this game as well is that Bodo Glimt domestically, they are kind of, in a sense, the city of Norway, in the sense that they play very possession-dominating, possession-focused game football. When they play in Europe, they need to sit back and defend and counter. So it's a completely switch that they have to do and play completely differently. But they did that so well. They were super aggressive. They countered. They were full of energy. Well, given that they're not in season as well. Not in season. That sounds like a weird thing to say about a football team. But the Norwegian Football League is a summer league, logically, because of the weather. So the club football, the league football is not happening at the moment. So they should really be off the pace physically, but they didn't look that way at all. So credit goes to the team and the staff for preparing them physically for the game, and it was an incredible performance and result.
How much does the -9 artificial pitch and the fact they're terrible away from home come into it?
So I think to be fair to Guardiola, he didn't really make a big deal out of the pitch because, again, I've mentioned the financial discrepancy. Like, if you rock up with a team that has a wage bill of 400 million against a team that has a wage bill of 20, you don't really get to complain about the pitch. I think that's just a good rule to have. There's such a discrepancy with resources there that this shouldn't be an issue. And the weather, of course, is inclement, but it could have been much colder than it was. Like, we've had colder nights in January up north. So I don't think those are really excuses. I just thought Bodo Glimt were so aggressive and energetic, and you have a pretty inexperienced back line at City, who of course turned the ball over a couple of times because Bodo Glimt were so good at pressing them and being fearless and aggressive. So Rodri, the moment when Jens Petter Hauge just kind of skipped past Rodri and put it in the top corner, like, it wasn't quite Gareth Bale on Maicon, but you just think, yeah, it was a little bit of that. This is the guy who was the best holding midfielder in the world, who's obviously suffered a terrible, terrible injury, and we're all hoping he comes back to where he was, but he's not there anymore physically. He's a different player now. And I just thought Bodo Glimt were really, really good.
Yeah, they were great, weren't they? So, Lars, how big a crisis do you think this is for City? That's 2 defeats now where basically they've kind of been lucky with the scoreline. Like,
United could have been 6-0, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's probably same last night, I don't know. So it's hard to tell with City because you always, at some point, one of us will say, well, they could go on one of those runs where they win 20 in a row.
They don't look like it, do they?
But absolutely right. They don't look like it, Lars.
It's been a funny one with City this year because I feel like some of their best performances have come under very un-City-like circumstances, because some of their most convincing performances and best wins have been games where they haven't dominated possession as much as they usually do, and instead have just knocked it or played early balls in behind for Erling Haaland. I think they seem to be a work in progress. I think this injury situation, you can't really get away from it. The idea that you've got Kusanov and Max Rushden in defence. Find it a little bit weird that Nathan Ake is not playing at centre half, given that he has a little bit more experience, but there he is. Nori at right back was a curious one when Rico Lewis is in this. Guardiola is doing some odd stuff. I'm sure he has his reasons, but there's some things that doesn't quite make sense. And listen, you can't get away from the fact that Erling Haaland is struggling at the moment. Like, I was very surprised he played this game. I wonder if he really wanted to himself. I think that's one of the things about Haaland. I don't think he likes being rested. I think he absolutely hates it. But he looks.
He's not injured, though, is he? Is he carrying an injury?
Not that I know, but he looks tired. I mean, Guardiola said publicly not too long ago that he's exhausted, and he looks like he's not as on it physically and as sharp as you want him to be. I honestly thought this would have been a great chance to give him a week off. This game in the far north, because it's fun for him to play against a Norwegian team, I'm sure, but it's away in the far north, and you've got Wolves at the weekend. I mean, that seemed like a great chance to just tell Erling, you know, we can invent a muscle injury if you want or something, but just go to your house in Marbella for a week and just chill because you look like you need a break. And they haven't done that. I wonder if Pep actually regrets starting him on this one, because I think he needs a break.
I wish I could be sent to Marbella for a week. Could the boss say, could Liam listening? Could you just say, Matt, go to Marbella for a week? You'll be absolutely fine.
You can just go to Melbourne. You don't need to go to Marbella. You've got beaches nearby.
A strained larynx. Anyway, stay where you are, Lars. We'll get into Thomas Frank in just a second. The latest episode of the talkSPORT Daily podcast available now, as Adrian's joined by Danny Murphy, Scott Minto and Alvin Martin, bringing all the fallout from last night's Champions League action, wherever you get your podcasts. And this is from Eddie. He says, when Alvin Martin was in his latter years, he joined Orient and was bald on top, but had out-of-control bits on the sides that looked like a pair of fluffy slippers. So that was his new nickname, Fluffy Slippers.
Oh, we'll call him that when he comes in the office.
And he's next on. You are listening to talkSPORT. It's Max Rushden, Andy Jacobs with you until 4.
We're told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday after the win over Dortmund. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook has told us the board are still divided.
Thomas Frank will be in charge for Burnley away at the weekend. I think he's brought himself a little bit of time. There are still members of the board who I think are uncertain about his future long term, but equally there are still some in the hierarchy who are pushing for patience.
talkSPORT's Danny Murphy has told White and Jordan Arsenal are too strong for a depleted Man City in the title race.
Even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and then, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
City lost at Bodo Glimt to give themselves a nervous final group game with Galatasaray next week. Arsenal are already into the knockouts after brushing Inter aside. Transfer news, and we're hearing Bournemouth have agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. They see the Vasco da Gama winger as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's availability, and that Jean-Philippe Mateta's made it clear to the Palace hierarchy he wants to move away from the club. In the cricket, Harry Brook says he's lucky to still be England white ball captain. He's now said sorry to his teammates for an altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a rotten Ashes tour. Bumbles told talkSPORT that's 1 strike for the young Brook.
But he has to be reminded of his responsibilities. He's representing the country, and that sort of behaviour. He's been read the Riot Act, I know that, and he was fined £30,000 as well. And so they would hope that that's been dealt with and he learns from it.
For Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Right, listen up. I mean, hopefully that's what you were doing anyway. The Super Bowl is just a few weeks away. We're sending one of you and a mate to San Francisco on the 6th of February to see it live. Flights, 3 nights in a hotel, spending money, 2 seats at the game, the biggest event in sport. We are sorting the whole thing. This is it. The competition closes tomorrow. Get your entry in now. Here is Andy Jacobs to tell you how.
For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines closed tomorrow at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talkSPORT.com. For your chance to win, text WIN to 8333 right now. Good luck.
You did? Yeah, good luck. You didn't have your headphones in when I read out a brilliant insult to me, Andy.
I know, because Amelia took them for the news. And
right.
I
see.
Without me even looking, I was trying to find them and I looked around and she's wearing them.
God, are we struggling? Is there just one pair of headphones for all of talkSPORT? Yes. This is a worry, isn't it? Now, somebody referred to me as the replacement bus service of talkSPORT, which I think is...
Absolutely brilliant. It's not Bob in Kent, is it?
It's not Bob in Kent, no, it's another one. Ben says, I quite like Max Rushden, but then again, I also like a rail replacement bus. All aboard, he says. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for the love. Lars Sivertsen with us. Lars, let's talk about that win for Tottenham and just how huge it is for Thomas Frank.
Yeah, the Wizz Air of European football journalists, I think. It's not always great, but it does go to some unexpected places and very reasonable fares.
Yeah,
could be it. I think on Tottenham, I was really impressed by them. The big caveat in this game is, of course, you do get that red card after 25 minutes, which completely changes the complexion of the game. But even before then, I thought everything was lined up for a total disaster for Spurs here. They have this... Their form obviously is not good. The vibes are bad. They have this terrible injury situation, which means, like, if you look at their bench for this game, I mean, they could barely field the proper 11 here. And they're facing Dortmund, who, under Niko Kovacs, they're not this sort of swashbuckling, exciting Dortmund team that we've seen sometimes. But what Niko Kovacs has done is gone back to basics. They play with 3 at the back. They have, like, willing runners across the board. They don't make like daft mistakes in the way they used to do. They're sort of almost like a safety first kind of team. It doesn't really suit them, but it's made them they're in second in the Bundesliga now. It is kind of working. And they've only lost 3 games, I believe, in all competitions this season. So they're kind of solid without being too exciting. You would think them would smell blood in the water against an ailing Spurs, really struggling under Thomas Frank. What I was really impressed with was that they came out and they were aggressive, Tottenham. They went out and they pressed and they went at them. And you saw, again, the game completely changes on the red card. But even before then, you saw some good things from players like Odegaard, like Xavi Simons, players who haven't been great this season. This was a very, very positive evening for Tottenham and Thomas Frank.
They have got this incredible record, though, and they've won all 3 home games. They haven't conceded a goal. It's so much in contrast to their record in the Premier League that you start to wonder, is it them? Is it the Premier League stronger? Because, I mean, we saw Arsenal dismantle Bayern Munich. You wonder the relative strength of the leagues. I mean, you know.
The Premier League is very strong. And I do think with Tottenham's Champions League record, I mean, they've beaten FC Copenhagen at home. You'd expect that. They've beaten Slavia Prague at home. They were enormously lucky to get a point away to Bodo Glimt. I mean, they were second best in that game. They were also enormously lucky to get a point at Monaco. And here you have a red card in the first half. So I do think that as much as Tottenham's league campaign has seemed completely cursed this season, and everything that can go wrong seems to go wrong, very much the opposite has been true for most of their games in the Champions League. Things are kind of dropping their way. That's not to discount the efforts they're putting in, of course. And I do think you're right that the Premier League is very, very strong at the moment. But I'm not maybe completely impressed with what they've done so far. But I have to say they were very good here. And they were good in a way I did not expect them to be based on recent performances in England.
Yeah, and good before the red card, weren't they? I mean, and
yes.
So the question for Tottenham is how many, because obviously Thomas Frank has to win at Burnley to keep his job. We think.
Yeah.
But how many games does he have to win in a row before we stop saying if he doesn't win this one, he's gone? Because actually their fixture list after Burnley away, and like Dr. Tottenham being Dr. Tottenham, that's not easy, is really tricky.
Well, if they win a
have you
couple of
looked
games,
at it's worth reminding ourselves what the fixture list is after Burnley. In the league, then they've got Manchester City away, the Manchester City at home. They got United away, Newcastle at home, and Arsenal. So that run of City, United, Newcastle, and Arsenal looks kind of unpleasant, I have to say. And I was even thinking after the West Ham game, maybe they're holding fire on this just because bringing someone in ahead of that run is kind of like a bit of a hospital pass. I mean, Thomas Frank is there. Whatever you've made up your mind about regarding his situation, you might as well give him that run of games to see if he can if he can do something and turn something around. Because anyone you bring in temporarily is probably going to have a pretty bad time in that run of games, no matter what happens.
And what about Arsenal, Lars? I mean, do you see them? I mean, they've won all their games. They look to be one of the strongest teams in the whole competition.
Yeah, no, they beat the team that's the top of the league in Italy, and did so with in some style. I thought they were good. Arsenal, I think Arsenal have a good shout at being the best team in Europe at the moment. You would say based on domestic form, you'd look at Bayern, but of course Arsenal beat them. So I think that you can make a case for Arsenal being the best team in Europe at the moment. And for me, the most confusing thing about Arsenal is kind of how stressful, like, not just their fans online, of course, but also the team seem very anxious. Like that draw against Nottingham Forest, everyone seemed very frustrated and angry. Like, you're 7 points top of the Premier League. You've got the best numbers by a mile. Keep winning in the Champions League. Like, things are going really well for Arsenal. Everything is kind of going in the right direction right now.
Sure, and now they have options up front, right? Because Jesus comes in and scores 2. Gyökeres scores a really good goal. Havertz is, is kicking about as well. And so now it's an interesting decision as to who Arteta picks to start at the weekend.
Very interesting. And again, I think the only team that can really mess this up for Arsenal now are Arsenal. I think like they look like the best team in the Premier League. They've beaten Bayern, who look like the best team in Europe. They're super impressive, and it confuses me that every time they drop a point or something, it's an incredibly strong media and social media reaction going, oh no. And I wonder if this is just the sort of some sort of residual
it's
trauma.
Modern times, like, it's just modern times.
But listen, I'm trying not to be like an old man who blames everything on modern times and young people. I'm just trying to be more constructive about this and think that maybe it's a bit of residual trauma from like several seasons of finishing second and like just almost not. And there's a worry of that happening again. But I think Arsenal are just great. I say this being a Tottenham fan. I think they're the best team in Europe right now, and this is another example of that.
And actually, a total triumph of recruitment, right? Because they have great depth, but I can't think of how many. Gyökeres, okay, the jury is still out, right? But how many signings have they made where you go, that has not worked? Because a lot of teams spend a lot of money and it doesn't work.
Yeah, the jury is generous. I mean, I wonder, would the jury still be out on Gyökeres if Arsenal were third in the table? I think is a question. That's where I think he's getting a little bit of leeway from the fact that the team is going so well, and the fact that he does tangibly, like, he helps in terms of running, in terms of pinning center halves. He does other stuff than score goals, but it hasn't really worked that well so far. And getting Jesus and Havertz back into the mix at this point of the season, I think, is very useful for them. But you are right. Like last season, the main reason they didn't win the last season is, I mean, they only lost 4 games. That was the same number of defeats as Liverpool had last year. But Arsenal had 14 draws. 14 draws they had last season. And I think a lot of those games were just tight games that they weren't able to pivot in their favor because they just didn't have that little bit of extra quality. And like this year, when you've got Eze, who doesn't play every game but can come in, when you've got several options up front, when you have options to withstand a couple of injuries at the back, as you're dealing with right now, I mean, that for me is the big difference. So you're exactly right, Max, in saying, yeah, it's the recruitment that the things they did in the summer that's really paying off.
They may be challenged by Real Madrid. They had a thrashing of Monaco, didn't they? Was that a surprise that in terms of scoreline?
I mean, it was an interesting game in terms of it's been quite negative at Real Madrid recently. At the weekend against Levante, they had an extremely negative reaction from the crowd. They were whistling, they were boos. Like the team was not impressed with them, having lost this Super Cup final to Barcelona. Xabi Alonso gets fired. They then get knocked out of the cup by Albacete, which is completely unheard of. And even though they won 2-0 against Levante, the atmosphere was very, very negative at the Bernabeu. So this was sort of a first step towards maybe repairing relations with their own fans. Even just this very, very convincing win against Monaco. And this was a demonstration of what this team can do at their best. I mean, you wonder about how Vinicius and Mbappe really function together because they like doing the same things on the pitch. They like taking up the same spaces. If you look at the second goal in this game, there's a quick pass in behind for Vinicius to play into Mbappe. I mean, they have so much pace. So I thought Monaco's approach in this game was mystifying because they pressed them quite high, which is an odd thing to do when you're coming up against Vinicius and Mbappe, and Real Madrid just run riot. But it is this thing about this team which can be completely infuriating. In sacking Xabi Alonso after half a season for essentially doing the thing he was hired to do, which is to impose some discipline and some structure, and the players not liking it. It is weird, but then you also have these occasional reminders that these are unbelievably good footballers. So maybe you should give them some leeway. I'm not entirely sure. Certainly against an away team that mysteriously decided to give them a lot of space to run into. It was a good game. It was a good night for Real Madrid and a much needed first positive step towards something going on there.
Lovely stuff, Lars. Thanks for coming on, pal.
Anytime, guys.
Lars Sivertsen there. You are listening to Hawksby and Jacobs, Rushden and Jacobs today in partnership the Placement Bus Service.
Bus Service and Jacobs.
stay one step ahead.
We get the trail done.
In partnership with Tool Station. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Tool Station. Comedian Andy Parsons is out on tour and he's going to come in and tell us all about it in just a second. Good afternoon. You are listening to Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you on talkSPORT until 4. Very pleased to say Andy Parsons, comedian, is in the studio ahead of his latest tour. Andy, welcome. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. There we go. I thought you were at home in Cambridge for a minute there. I thought I'd come into the studio and you've not bothered.
I'm in a shed in Melbourne, Andy.
Lovely.
And it's a very
Have you been? What's your excuse? Have you been watching a bit of cricket and then staying on for some extra noosa beers?
He lives there.
I mean. I married an Australian, and like, after about 10 years in London, Angie, she was like, it's very grey here. And I went, yeah. And so I came over here to host the Champions League for Australian television. And then
if you're a replacement bus, what a hell of a replacement bus you are. It goes all over the world, this replacement bus.
It takes forever. It stops everywhere. It's
I don't want the train anymore. I only want the replacement bus.
Well, very kind of Andy. Now, look, your tour, it's quite apposite, actually. It's, please bleep off to Mars. And it says, can Elon Musk bleep off to Mars and take Bezos, Trump, Rachel Reeves, Nigel Farage with him? It's apposite that right now, while we're having this very important conversation for the world, Donald Trump is in Davos basically announcing, I don't know what's going to happen to Greenland.
And so for some reason, Keir Starmer decided he didn't want to listen to him being told he was a greatly stupid man.
And he's just been to Prime Minister's Question Time, PMQ4 Times Radio, haven't you?
I have, I've just popped up 3 floors, I have, so it's very convenient. So, I can't complain at all.
Yeah, so tell us about the tour then. I mean, is it you just want all the evil people in the world to go away?
Well, the starting point was that probably the best chance for peace on Earth is to have something so scary up in space that it brings all of the countries of the Earth together. And my suggestion is that Elon Musk can be that something. So let's get him up in space, and then obviously the question arises, who might we want to put up there with him? So we explore those issues through the show. But yeah,
any room for the Beckhams?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting, Slack's going, it's okay for children to make mistakes, but also quite okay, it seems, for adults to make mistakes by calling them children when they are in fact themselves adults. So maybe that might be it.
I mean, the thing is, because the world is quite bleak, and I think probably a lot of people wake up and you get your phone from under your pillow, which is your first mistake.
You wake up so you think, oh God, what am I going to do? And you think, well, do you know what I'll do? I think what I'll do is I'll go and Australia, and basically I'll phone it in occasionally whilst I'm swanning around on a beach.
It's not bad, is it?
Listen, don't tell anyone, Andy, right? Don't tell anybody. It's a ruse. I'm amazed they're still letting me do it. But the world is bleak, and actually laughing at the sort of oncoming apocalypse is pretty much the only thing you can do, isn't it?
Well, there was actually a couple of decent gags in Prime Minister's Questions today, so for the first time ever. So yeah, the whole idea of Robert Jenrick leaving, and she said, oh, I kicked him out, and Keir Starmer's response was, what else were you going to do? Were you going to look at his resignation letter that you'd found and then just correct the typos, which was as good as he's ever got?
That's quite a good line from him.
Yeah.
It's very interesting though, Andy. I remember coming to see you with Paul a long time ago, and you were already ahead of the curve about social media. You had this great line, which you'll remember, about checking your mobile. It's like going to the front door. You know, that thing that you talked about?
You tend to check all your different bits on the mobile phone, your Facebook and your emails and your texts, and whichever one you've checked, you think, oh, I better check that again, because I'm checking for 5 minutes, and it's like opening your front door and then going back again. So yeah, it was that line. I can still remember it. There's lots I can't remember, but I have.
It was ahead of the curve, that wasn't it?
Well, it's very sweet of you, Andy. It was always very sweet of you to see. I think you came to the Bloomsbury Theatre, and it's. I've been trying to get you back ever since, but you've been steadfastly refusing. So.
I don't go out
It is a bit like, and I don't know whose line it is when you say, you're on your laptop, you're sort of on your laptop, you're going, oh, yeah, I'm just looking at everything on your laptop, and you close that, and then you check the small internet on your phone. As if anything's changed from the big internet on your computer to the small internet on your phone, and this total addiction of, I don't know, and I don't know if you think this, Andy, because it's so incongruous, whatever the algorithm is sending you, that I'm getting Trump's going to invade Greenland, the world, there's famine here and war here. And then suddenly says, and you're too fat to wear T-shirts, so you have to wear this special T-shirt, and why don't you try Tai Chi? And it's trying to get your brain to just go, well, what do you want me to focus on?
And you can't even enjoy a nice mushroom these days without having some implications about that, can you, Max? So, But yeah, in terms of what Andy hasn't told you so far today is that this is the second time I've seen Andy today.
Oh yeah,
I actually bumped into Andy in Waterloo Station, right?
Embarrassing, really.
He was swearing. The escalator was closed at Waterloo Station, right? You're going to enjoy this story, right?
Yes,
so
I am.
He was basically the far right hand side. So he talked to some guy and he's getting, because the bloke said, I'll use the middle entrance. That's the way to do it. He's going, oh, God, this is ridiculous, right? And so I said, oh, Andy, how are you?
That was so embarrassing.
So then he goes through the middle entrance and says, we'll go this way. I said, that's all right, I'm coming with you. I don't know if you know, I'm on the show today, right? So we go through the middle entrance, right? He goes out the back and I said, are you sure you know what you're doing, right? He takes me round all the way the back in the rain to Waterloo when we were inside and we had no rain, right? Takes me outside into the rain, goes back to the first entrance. We go to the back of the first entrance, which is obviously still closed because the bloke just told him. But he then goes, no, I know a better way, right? So you then go outside even further, still pouring down with rain. He takes me past the taxi rank. We're going down a slope. I said, I've had enough of your direction.
He went on his own direction.
I had to get him back.
I've only just arrived. He's been here for half an hour. Tremendous.
All the guests for the show have to meet Andy at Waterloo Station, and then he leads them on a merry dance to get there. So look, tell us about the tour. Do you presumably still love? This is the cold face. This is the best bit of it, is it for you?
No, it's great, isn't it? As you know, no producers, nobody telling you what to do. You've written it. You're performing it, and obviously, the dream when you start out, can you sell theatres under your own name? And it's lovely to see your name up in lights, even if occasionally, as on the last tour, one of them was spelt incorrectly. It was. For one night only, Andy Parsons was performing. So yes.
Oh, I love him. He's really good.
He's good. He's on fire, isn't he? Of course he is. And is there because normally there's one. Whenever a comedian comes in and says, "Yeah, the tour, it's all booked out except for Colchester or somewhere." Yeah. Is there somewhere where you're
to be honest, I'm not sufficiently across it to know exactly. But also, I've done quite a few tours now. So any of those that you're sort of talking about, and they go to me at the end of each tour, they go, in any venues you don't want to do again. And so that Colchester, whatever the equivalent would be, not that I love Colchester Mercury, lovely venue, just wanted to get that in quickly. But yeah, whatever it was, I would just go, no, let's not do that one again. Maybe the Andy Parsons venue, I'll be thinking, no, we won't go back there. So the ones I do, I tend to love, and they tend to be, ones that sell well and are good fun to do.
You would serve them right if you actually set fire to the theatre, wouldn't you? Well, that's what you called me.
Yeah. I was just looking for the letter P and it
that works
wrong.
In court, I think.
I don't think that would work.
I think it worked. What's your defence? They called me Parsons. I had to do it. Fine. You're free to go. So what were you doing at Prime Minister's Questions, Andy? Have I missed a bit of this?
No, I wasn't actually in Prime Minister's Questions. There was actually an MP got kicked out today, which was good fun.
Really?
He had 3 warnings from the Speaker, and then he actually sent him. So what you haven't noticed as well, Max, is whilst I'm chatting here, Andy's doing a doodle on his piece of paper.
Oh, of course he is, yeah. You should take that as a great compliment.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's unconscious.
Well, I don't think it's me, because the bloke's got hair, so I don't know what's the doodle what he's doing.
Yes, I like to sketch the guests.
No,
I do a little
He's no longer a presenter, it's the resident artist of talkSPORT.
The artist in residence. We're trying to become a more urbane radio station. So we need an artist in residence, and Andy is currently auditioning.
When they put the cameras in, they decided we need an extra level.
Oh well, what can you do?
Andy, thanks for coming in. I forgot you're a Torquay fan. Is that right? Have I made that up?
Well, yeah, it's always one of those where I have to check how well Torquay are doing, just so as I can answer the question when you ask it.
Right. But, and how well are they doing?
Oh my goodness me! The National League Sav. We are in the promotion places.
That's true.
We are 1 win away from top spot. If we're not absolutely ecstatic by the end of the season as we go up to the National League, I can't understand what might be going on.
Well, just keep it together, Andy.
Yes,
because you can, when you next check the league table in a year's time before you come in, you can find out how they've got on. Thanks for coming in, pal. Thank you. Good luck with the tour.
Thanks. If anyone wants tickets, it's andyparsons.co.uk. As I'm sure you're about to help me out as you show a wonderful doodle from Andy.
Well, it actually says it says andyparsons.co.uk on my piece of paper. Add in the P if you want to go. Yeah, andyparsons.co.uk. On tour around the UK, it is Max and Andy Jacobs, the artist in residence, on talkSPORT with you till 4. Annie in Birmingham writes, Andy Arsons coming soon to Channel 5. Watch as Andy Parsons travels the country setting fire to Grade 2 listed buildings. Thanks, Andy, for coming in. It is Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you until 4. The Jamaican bobsleigh team has 3 teams in the 2026 Winter Olympics, and we will chat to Joel Fearon, who is in one of those teams in just a second. Before that, Uma Gurav has the sports headlines.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thanks, Max. Good afternoon. Now, beaten in Bodo and trailing in the title chase with Man City all at sea is Pep Guardiola now past his best.
Well, he won 4 Premier League titles in a row. He's not going to repeat that.
No.
So I think probably the answer to that, in its most binary terms, is yes. Is he capable of rebuilding a side?
Simon Jordan there after City's 3-1 defeat to Bodo Glimt. And talkSPORT's Danny Murphy now believes Arsenal will prove too strong for a depleted Man City in the Premier League.
Even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and City, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
Elsewhere, we're told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday after their win over Dortmund. To transfers now, and we understand Jean-Philippe Mateta's told Palace he wants to leave this winter. Palace have already turned down a loan offer from his first choice Juventus, but Aston Villa are now showing interest. Elsewhere, Bournemouth have agreed a 5.5-year deal with 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. They see the Vasco da Gama winger as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. Plus, Ethan Nwaneri's having his Marseille medical today. He's due to complete a loan move there from Arsenal. And Harry Brook has admitted he's lucky to still be England white ball captain. He's now said sorry to his teammates for an altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a rotten Ashes tour. Bumbles told talkSPORT that's 1 strike for the young Brook.
But he has to be reminded of his responsibilities. He's representing the country, and that sort of behaviour, he's been read the Riot Act, I know that, and he was fined £30,000 as well, and so they would hope that that's been dealt with and he learns from it.
Our ball-by-ball commentary of England's white ball tour of Sri Lanka starts tomorrow morning on talkSPORT 2 and on our cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
Donald Trump has described the US as the economic engine of the planet as he addresses the World Economic Forum. And Prince Harry's told the High Court he doesn't have leaky social circles in his legal battle with the Daily Mail's owner. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Rain and hill snow across Scotland, clearing to sunny spells. A bright start elsewhere, but showery rain for many during the afternoon.
You are listening to Rushden and Jacobs on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Gear up for those darker nights with electrical and lighting offers. Next stop, Toolstation. And Mark in Walthamstow says, has anyone checked Andy Jacobs for a hidden hip flask? His behaviour is like a 13-year-old with a supply teacher. Very laissez-faire, it says. Could you pull it together, please, Andy?
I don't know where you get that from.
Concentrate.
I don't know what these people are listening to half the time, really, anyway.
No, I think you've been right on it today.
I'm perfectly the same as I've been for the last 26 years. I don't know why you think that. It's because I laughed at Andy Parsons' jokes.
I think he's saying because I'm a supply teacher. No. He's saying, you've been let off the leash, Andy. Anyway, let's talk about the Jamaican bobsleigh team. They've got 3 teams in the 2026 Olympics, and Joel Fearon will be in the 2-man and the 4-man bob, and he joins us now. Hey, Joel, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm excited to be on the show, so this is very cool for me. Yeah, I'm in a good mood.
You're obviously not in Jamaica.
No, I'm out in New York at a training facility where we're getting the team ready. We've had a massive task of getting some elite sprinters together, putting them together and trying to make a world-class bobsleigh team, which is going very well so far. So, I'm super excited.
It is interesting.
Carry on, Andy.
No, just the connection between Jamaica's brilliance at sprinting and this sport, because they do go together, surprisingly, don't they?
They do, and I was also, a British sprinter and a British bobsledder, and I've kind of made that connection and made it very successful to the point where I've won Olympic medals in bobsleigh. and they've kind of brought me in to help do that with Jamaica and help create a world-class team going not only to this Olympics but going forward. So yeah, it's been a very successful project so far, and I'm proud of the work we've done.
And it's not like international football there. Once you've represented GB in Olympics, you can do a transfer. How does that work?
Well, it's to be fair, my parents, both parents, are Jamaican. So I grew up here in the UK in Coventry, went through the British ranks, and I did all of that. And then I retired. So I've been retired for 4 years. And then this year they've brought me out of retirement to rebuild this Jamaican team. And they've gave me, I'm a sub-10 sprinter myself. I've got another sub-10 sprinter on the sled. We've got basically guys that would make the British sprint team here out pushing. So we have the most talented athletes at the Winter Olympics, but it's my job to put them together and make them a bobsleigh team, which is a little bit different and can be tricky as well.
Yeah. So you're the John Candy in this cool running, basically.
A little bit of the John Candy, if he could actually get on a sled.
It'd be a big sled for John.
Yeah, it would be a big sled. But yeah, it's an amazing story to be part of, and to see the team. We've won 8 gold medals this year alone, so we've had a very successful year going up to this point.
It's a thrilling sport. It always has been, and there was even one last week. I don't know if you saw this. There was 4-man bob. They started off, only one man got in. The 3.
Mate,
it was unbelievable. How did he control it going down the thing? It was amazing.
That is worst case scenario. And in all of my 20 years of bobsleigh, I've never seen that. I've never seen everybody fall off. And, to be fair, the brake man, the guy at the very back, looked at what was going on and just let go. So he didn't fall off. He decided, I don't want any part in this. But yeah, I've never seen that happen in my days.
It was very interesting. Sorry, Max, to see Rob and Romesh in their latest verses trying the bobsleigh. And
oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it was Romesh in there. It's pretty frightening. I mean, you need to know what you're doing. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. And it's still terrifying to me now. And I've been in behind a lot of novice drivers. Even Brad, that was in that when he was a novice driver, I was behind him, helping him learn. And again, with this Jamaican team, a lot of the guys are new, so I'm behind them, trying to be, mate, it's crazy and it's dangerous. But so far, so good, and it's going well.
Cool Runnings? Sorry, Andy. Cool Runnings is such an amazing movie, right? And it's just in terms of feel-good movies, it's so good. But I wonder, do the Jamaican bobsleigh team get a bit annoyed that every time they do an interview about anything, someone says "feel the rhythm" and shows them a lucky egg and all those things? Are they saying actually, because is that sort of patronising, or do the Jamaican bobsleigh team embrace that?
Nah, I think you've got to embrace that, mate. I mean, that's how I told my wife what I was doing. I was like, babe, sit down and watch this movie all that 15 years ago. And she watched it, and I was like, I'm off now. I'm going to go do that. I think we've really got to embrace it. We're the most famous bobsleigh team in the world, regardless of results. Everyone tunes in to see us go. Everyone's behind us. This year we're going to be underdogs, but we're going to put on a great show for you guys. So not at all. I think it's to be embraced, and it's a blessing to the nation that we do have that have a Disney movie behind us, fueling us. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Other than the numbers, what is the difference between 2-man and 4-man? Is one more difficult than the other? Is one more frightening than the other?
4-man's a lot more dangerous. When you crash in a 4-man, you know about it. There's legs and arms flying everywhere and people screaming, so that can be dramatic. 2-man, you do have to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more powerful, because you've got a lot of work to do just as the two of you. But there's not a massive difference in it. Driving it is different. The 2-man is a little bit like a go-kart, where the 4-man's more like a bus. If you make a mistake, sometimes it's hard to correct. But generally, it's all mad, to be honest with you. I mean, if you watch it and you have a go and you go down, it's all mad. I don't know how I got into it, but here I am going to my 3rd Olympic Games. So, yeah. Still excited about it.
You're right. How many billion years of evolution have led to 4 people getting in this thing and going down? Do you talk to each other? I mean, is someone saying nothing silly first 5, or is it just the driver and you just get your head down?
No, literally. After we have our little call at the block where sort of everyone knows what they're doing and what's going on, and then after that, mate, it's tuck in. Normally, I sit behind the driver, so I can sort of see what's going on. So if we're going a bit wrong, the guys will feel me sort of scooting down and preparing for impact. So, but no, we don't. We just sort of get on with it, and we've had a really sort of smooth year. So we're hoping to have a very sort of smooth Olympics, and all just to be enjoyed really by the nation.
How much does the equipment come into it, like the bobsleighs themselves? Is it like Formula One? Do the richer countries have better equipment? That sort of idea.
Absolutely. Like back in 2014, we had a sled worth over £500,000 made by McLaren. That was, all the bells and whistles on it. This year we've got a previous, so it won a medal in 2018. So it's got pedigree. But yeah, equipment is a lot, and a lot of the German teams are the lead in technology in that department. So if you see, they're normally the guys to beat. But yeah, the equipment plays a big part, and it is like Formula One. And every year, sort of new rules come out, and they find new ways to bend the rules and sort of make their sled faster, or make the athletes able to push it faster, or whatever they need to do to get the win. So yeah.
So that sled you've got from 28, who won it in 2018? Like, do you have to do a paint job on it? Did you buy it?
We did, yeah. We got it off Korea. We rented it, right? And then we smashed Korea out of the park, and then they wanted it back, right? But they're not getting it back in time.
Get it back.
So yeah, can we have that back? I was like, no, thank you.
Who knew you could rent a bobsleigh? That's amazing, isn't it?
What? Yeah, I know.
I'm surprised we're not still using Nash and Dixon's from 1964. They won the gold.
Wait, that bobsleigh didn't even have sides on it, mate. I don't know if you've ever seen that bobsleigh, but you don't want to be going down on that. I promise you that. Hey, that's a steal, mate. I tell you.
Tremendous.
And do the skeleton people look at you and think this is easy? Like, what's the pecking order of bravery here?
Oh, no. The skeleton are much more like they're refined humans. They're they're all pretty quiet. They're to themselves. The bobsledders are like cavemen. We're all massive and muscly and angry. And do you know what I mean? We're a bit. We're just very
simple.
Sort of,
would you say you're simple?
Don't forget the luge. There's the luge.
Oh yeah, the luge, of course. Where's the luge in all this?
We don't have anything to do with them blokes. I have no idea what they're up to. But I am not involved.
It's very good fun.
Listen, the skeleton, we're all right. You know what I mean? We have an understanding. But luge, they're on a planet of their own. We don't even see them.
Oh, well, look, Joel, good luck. Thanks so much for coming on and enlightening us and exposing what little I know about the bobsleigh. And we wish you all the best. You're right, the most famous bobsleigh team in the world. It's you. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Joel Fearon there. Former British medalist, now in the 2-man and the 4-man bob for Jamaica. You like Cool Runnings, Andy? It's so good, isn't it?
Funny enough, I hadn't seen the film, and we started watching it there, and I was really enjoying it. And then my wife said to me, I'm not sure. So how did we end up not watching? It was this petty because I thought it looked fantastic.
You stopped halfway through.
Well, it was
halfway down the run.
It's difficult, if she's sitting there sighing and not enjoying it. It's quite hard, isn't it? Really, you can't just bash on regardless. It would seem a bit harsh.
No, you're right. You'd always find time to watch it by yourself, finish it by yourself. Yeah. How many other movies are you halfway through because Sue has said, this is not for me?
That does happen, actually. But we'll see. If Chelsea Paphos is a bit of a bore, I might switch to it.
Oh, there is absolutely no way that Chelsea Paphos will be better than Cool Runnings. There's no way in the world.
I'd like to see David Luiz in a sled.
You're probably right. Anyway, that's the trouble with the Chelsea bobsleigh team. They're young, they've got no experience, they've just got no one. That's what you need at this level of bobsleighing. You are listening to Rushden Jacobs in partnership with Toolstation. Gear up for those darker nights with electrical lighting offers. Next stop, Toolstation. Tomorrow, Vinnie Jones is going to be in the talkSPORT studio on Breakfast with Alan Brazil and Gabby Agbonlahor. They will get his take on the modern game, including VAR. Can you imagine? You have to,
I bet he loves VAR.
Do we really need to guess what Vinnie Jones is going to say about VAR? Maybe he goes, actually, it's funny you say that, Alan. Actually, 99.4% of decisions are correct, I think you'll find. And find out if he could be in the next James Bond. Max and Andy with you until 4. Emma B, Virgin Radio presenter, has got a podcast out called I Can Run a Marathon, and she joins us next. afternoon. You are listening to Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you on talkSPORT until 4. Very pleased to say our Virgin Radio presenter Emma B joins us, has a new podcast out called I Can Run a Marathon. She joins us now. Hey, Emma.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yes, very good. Thank you very much. How's your training going? When is the marathon? About April? What have you got? 3 months left?
It's under 100 days now. I'm trying not to think about that too much. When we hit double figures, I was like, you know what, we'll just do this 1 week at a time. But yes, I'm off later this afternoon to do some strength training. I've got some intervals. You know, they kind of make you do sort of fast miles. And
because you were saying to me before the show that before we started speaking about that it's changed. The training for a marathon used to be about getting miles in the legs and endurance, but now you say it's different.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that conversation around looking after your, the whole body better. You wouldn't even dream of most of us wouldn't even dream of trying to do something like this without strength training, especially being a 55-year-old woman. I've got 55-year-old knees that I'd like to keep in some shape. And in fact, do you know what? There are some people even saying that normally you might run 3 times a week and strength train twice a week, and there are some people that are telling me that actually even running twice a week and strength training 3 times a week, you could probably manage it.
You don't look 55. I mean, 55 is the new 45. The other way around. Do you? I mean, you've got some very. I mean, I'm a glasses wearer. You've got some. If people are watching, you've got some sensational glasses. They're a real statement. Are you running in those?
So I'm very glad that you asked me this, because this has been a subject of much debate this week on the podcast, and the podcast episode 2 drops tomorrow, and you'll be able to hear. We've had so many people. I know it sounds like the most inconsequential thing, but if you're a glasses wearer, it's crucial. And who wants to be running, 26 miles in these kind of glasses? So people have suggested very focal contact lenses. I was trying a very lovely strap on today.
If you put on the expression.
Okay.
The expression.
Good for you.
It's a strap that you put on your glasses.
Marvellous. Anyway.
So that was very nice.
What about running without them?
Oh, you can't. Well, you can run without them, but then.
I'm not sure that's going to help about your marathon time, if I'm really honest, Emma.
But then you can't do social media, and there's no point in doing a marathon if you can't do your social media, right?
Go on.
I was going to say, why do you want to do? I've done them twice, right, Emma?
Congratulations, well done.
Yes, I went to Goa 6 weeks before the first time I did it. I got dysentery. That is not the best form of training.
Oh my God!
And then the following year, 16 of my friends were doing it tied together, so I had to do it because I didn't want them.
That was you. I know. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And it was terrible both times. So why did you want to do it?
So I had a pretty tough time about 3 years ago, and like many people and many women, I got breast cancer, went through the treatment for that. I then had to have some further surgery. I had a hysterectomy. We had some personal struggles at home and at work. My dad was really sick, and I spent 3 years on the sofa, just not doing very much at all, finding the corner of the sofa like lots of people do, and I really thought my days of kind of doing anything difficult were done and over, and as it happens, it's not. And I think that there's a bit life at the moment is great, and I really wanted to do it for all of those people that to kind of just go, please just keep going, because getting to the other side, this is good. This bit is really good, and you will, and you can do great things and challenging things again. And we're more than just mothers and workers and sisters and wives. We can do all these things, and it's difficult. It's really difficult, but it's not as difficult as those first steps that I had to take getting up off the sofa. And if you can do that, then you can do great things.
One of the good things about it, sorry, Max, is the amount of money that the London Marathon raises, and presumably, I think everybody runs for charity, don't they? So,
yeah.
Who are you running for?
So the British Heart Foundation, we're doing the podcast with the British Heart Foundation, and I'm going to be fundraising for them as well. And, you were saying, weren't you? It's just, I think that... It brings up so many emotions as well. Lots of people talk about how emotional they get running the marathon, because so many people are running for friends, for families, for colleagues, for people that they know. And, God knows, and Max, you need some motivation.
I'm running for Max to pay for him to come back. I'm fed up with doing this thing.
Raise the airfare fund to get him back. But you've got to have that motivation. You know, there's only so far a gel's going to take you. You know, you've got to have some fire in your belly, and that's where that comes from for so many people, doesn't it?
Yeah, and do you sort of visualise, like, because the thing it's so long, and you know, and there are moments in this. So I'm not trying to make you feel bad about your life choices here, Emma. Like it's, but if you do, at some point you start thinking, I'm going to be on the Mall. At some point, I'm going to be running down the Mall, and that moment is absolutely extraordinary.
Why not just do that bit?
Well, yes, I mean, it sort of takes the edge off if you don't do the rest of it. I see the point you're trying to make, but have you started even thinking about? Yeah, have you started thinking about that, Emma? I suppose that's my question. Have you started with the longer run? Started thinking, okay, there will be a moment when this is, you know, I'm there and I can just be able to soak this in.
Absolutely, and it's really interesting. Excuse me, talking to. So we've got Nell McAndrew, who's on the podcast tomorrow, 90s model turned marathon runner. She's now doing a marathon in under 3 hours, which is really super fast. That's elite running. But she talks a lot about motivation and you know, just getting into that rhythm and just putting one foot in front of the other, and talks a lot about that final bit on the Malmax, which is I'm really looking forward to. And I am. And then we've just been chatting to Bryony Gordon as well, who's you know, marathon. She runs in her pants and has done so many races. It's incredible. She fantasizes about being on Strictly Come Dancing. So that's what she does. So people's brains go to different places, and that manifesting that last bit is crucial. I have in my head my family with my 2 teenagers fighting at the dinner table, and me and my husband sort of sitting back and laughing, and they're my driving force.
That's good.
You are a Villa fan. Are you in the race?
You say that with it. Yeah, well, I think we are. Might have done. Not so much after the weekend. And
such a shame that, wasn't it, for the title race and just for all the momentum that you had.
Well, I don't think we haven't really sort of the transfer window hasn't really gone very well, has it? Let's be honest. And that's not really worked out the way I think a lot of Villa fans wanted to. But, you know, I was there in 1982. Wow. Yes, I know, we're still dragging that one up. As a 12-year-old, we went into the centre of Birmingham and watched them, you know, come into town on the open top bus. And as well, it would have been Gary Shaw's 65th birthday today. So, you know, and he was a magnificent player. So I've been a Villa fan for a very, very, very long time, and it's been amazing thus far to see such a cracking season for them.
They've got a good season, and you got to fancy them in the Europa League.
Oh, I would imagine so, and I think that was, you know, after last season being so disappointed, I think if that's one step better, then brilliant. That would be amazing. Be amazing to see.
This has to guard against what happened at the end of last season when they fell away, because he hasn't got a big squad.
No,
so over a longer period, they do get tired. If you have to keep playing the same players, it does affect it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was, you know, the end of last season was like, I mean, just, you know, we were being handed that on a plate on so many levels. But I think there was lots of chat. That's why this has been disappointing, because I think we could have, you know, done with 3 or 4, you know, fresh pairs of legs from some big hitters, and it's not happened. But you know, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see.
Brilliant.
Actually, 3 or 4 fresh pairs of legs is a great way to do a marathon. If like 10 miles in, you could just do that little signal.
Are you going to run in a Villa shirt?
I won't. I'll be running in a British Heart Foundation shirt, I think. Yeah. But Max, are you volunteering? Is that what you're saying? I can borrow it.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
No, well, as Andy suggested, just for the last 100 metres, I might do that. Good luck with it, Emma. Thanks so much.
Thank
I can
you.
run a marathon. Can people donate money as well? Is it a Just Giving page?
Well, tomorrow the episode 2 of I Can Run a Marathon is out tomorrow. You can find it on Spotify and all the Apple podcasts, and then later on you can watch it on Virgin Radio, YouTube as well. So give us a subscribe or a follow so you don't miss any of the updates. And I'll keep you up to date with all the British Heart Foundation money raising, fundraising as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Emma. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Emma B there from Virgin Radio. It is Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you till 4. Steve Harmerson will join us in just a second.
told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. After the win over Dortmund, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook has told us the board are still divided.
Thomas Frank will be in charge for Burnley away at the weekend. I think he's brought himself a little bit of time. There are still members of the board who I think are uncertain about his future long term, but equally there are still some in the hierarchy who are pushing for patience.
talkSPORT's Danny Murphy has told White and Jordan Arsenal are too strong for a depleted Man City in the title race.
Even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and then, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
City lost at Bodo Glimt to give themselves a nervous final group game with Galatasaray next week. Arsenal are already into the knockouts after brushing Inter aside. Transfer news, and we're hearing Bournemouth have agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. They see the Vasco da Gama winger as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's availability, and that Jean-Philippe Mateta's made it clear to the Palace hierarchy he wants to move away from the club. In the cricket, Harry Brook says he's lucky to still be England white ball captain. He's now said sorry to his teammates for an altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a rotten Ashes tour. Bumbles told talkSPORT that's 1 strike for the young Brook.
But he has to be reminded of his responsibilities. He's representing the country, and that sort of behaviour. He's been read the Riot Act, I know that, and he was fined £30,000 as well. And so they would hope that that's been dealt with and he learns from it.
Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs, in fact, with you on talkSPORT this afternoon, brought to you by the good people of Tool Station. Let's do a bit of cricket with Steve Harmerson. Our white ball tour of Sri Lanka starts tomorrow. As you just heard, you can hear live and exclusive ball-by-ball commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Before we bring in Harmy, let's have a listen to Harry Brook, who's been speaking to the media after he was punched by a bouncer in New Zealand in the tour before the Ashes.
I'm not going to go into any details. But obviously I made a terrible mistake, and not only as a player but as a captain, it's very unprofessional. I should be leading from the front and showing the players how it should be as a professional cricketer and a captain. And if they'd have sacked me from being captain, then I'd have been perfectly fine with it as long as I was still playing cricket for England.
Do you feel like you're lucky to still be in the job?
Probably slightly, yeah. But like I say, I'm just. Even if I had have been sacked, I'd have held my hands up and said, "Look, I've made the mistake," and I'd have been perfectly fine with getting sacked from the job as captain as long as I was still playing cricket.
Harmy's here. Hey, Harmy, you okay?
How are we, gents? You all right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, not too bad. What do you make of?
Yeah,
what do you
he's
make
such a good cricketer, Harry Brook, but he is in danger of. We saw this during the Ashes, of squandering his talent if he doesn't adjust his mental attitude to playing cricket, I think.
Yeah, he is such a good cricketer, and yeah, he made a mistake. Simple. He's made a mistake. He's held his hands up. He's fronted up. He was honest there. I mean, you couldn't get any more honest than what he got there. He said he was lucky. He still thinks he's slightly lucky to be in the white ball job. For Harry now, it's about, like what you said there, Andy, it's about his actions now. England, some people are criticising the England management for not bringing it out when it happened. I think in that situation, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. I think they've done the right thing and tried to keep Harry as captain because they see him as a long-term future leader of this cricket team. And sometimes, when you make a mistake like this, especially early in your captaincy, it might not be a bad thing for you. I'm not saying he should have done what he did, but he'll learn from it. And if he becomes a better player, a better person, and also a better captain for it, hopefully that's where Harry's at this moment in time. But now, for me, it's about his actions, both on the field as a batter and as a leader, as a team, because his ODI team is, they're 4 wins from 15. Still a while from the World Cup in South Africa in 2027, but they are 8th in the table, and they're a long way from being assured of qualifications, which they should do with wins at home. But then they've got a World Cup, T20 World Cup on the horizon, which they're going to need their best players. And Harry's certainly that, and he's their captain as well to lead from the front.
Sure. I mean, look, there are 2 points, I guess. One is about the culture within English men's cricket, and is there a big boozing culture? He didn't go into details. Normally when people get punched by a bouncer, there's some booze involved. Maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. But also, is he a good, he's a brilliant cricketer. We know that. He's a brilliant, he's a brilliant batsman, but that doesn't mean he's a good captain at all.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll talk the drinking culture. There's no drinking culture in this team. There's no. I've just watched. Right. I've been sitting here for the last 3 hours, and I've watched them work tirelessly hard on their games. They'll be as fit as any other England team. They'll be well drilled as any other England team. The preparation for the Ashes was questionable, and I don't think they can get away from that. They tried to do something different. It didn't work, and they got hammered, and they got hammered for it. So I don't think there's a drinking culture. Harry said in the press conference that he had 1 or 2, and then he stayed out for 1 or 2 extra when he was by himself. So take that to wherever you want to go with it. But I think from that point of view, I don't think there is a drinking culture with this lot. The second one, is he a good leader? Well, time will tell if he's a good leader. I think he started quite well on the T20 front. I think his 50-over team has not performed for him. I thought it was a disastrous tour of New Zealand. England didn't bat more than 36 overs in any of the 3 games. And I think if they want to get back to being their best, the simple fundamentals of basic cricket would be bat the overs you possibly can. With the artillery they've got in this team, I think will help them if they can bat 50 overs for 3 games, because they'll put good scores on the board, because the likes of Jamie Overton's coming in at number 9, Liam Dawson's coming in at number 10. England bat all the way down, so they've got power at the bottom. And his team will only as good as you're as a captain, as good as how many wins you get on the board.
It's an interesting looking selection. I presume that the pitch is going to turn, because they've only picked 2 pace bowlers, which is quite unusual in a one-day international, and 3 spinners plus Joe Root and Bethel. So they've got plenty of spin options. Let's hope the wicket does turn.
Yeah, well, it is going to turn. I've been out there. It is going to turn. It's very, very dry. I don't see this being any good for fast bowling. You look at the way I think the Sri Lankans will set up. They'll set up exactly the same. I'm surprised that England didn't go with one out-and-out, fully-fledged seamer, because I would say Sam Curran's a bowling all-rounder and Jamie Overton's a bowling all-rounder. But an out-and-out power player or death bowler, you could say Sam covers the death bit, but not in the power play. So England have gone with probably all their eggs in one basket, like they did in the Test matches, where they see their lower order 7, 8, 9, 10 getting an extra 20 runs rather than picking a frontline seamer, and they've got the 5 spin options.
Quick one on Newcastle, if that's okay, Harmy. They play PSV tonight. A win would be absolutely huge. Would sort of push them into the automatic top 8. Premier League is not going very well. Do you think, you're on the beat, you're on the local beat, do you think Eddie Howe gets a bit of a friendly ride from the local press?
No, I don't think so. I think that well, asked him if he had a plan B a couple of weeks ago, and that didn't go down too well with manager. So, and that was a local journalist. No, I don't think he gets a friendly ride. I think what he gets from a ride point of view, I think he gets respect for what he's done in the time that he's been there. I mean, let's be fair. I will stick up for Eddie Howe because I think he's great. But He's been there for 4 years. He took over a team who was languishing, a team that was 19th. We're going into the abyss, going down again under the ownership of Mike Ashley. The new owners came in. And in that 4 years, Eddie Howe's had he's had 2 chief execs, 3 chief execs if you talk about Amanda Staveley. He's had 3 directors of football and a large proportion of the time without a director of football. We finished the Champions League twice. We've been to 2 Wembley finals. And Newcastle are we say that it's been a disastrous Premier League. I think the Premier League's disastrous, never mind Newcastle's. They just can't win away from home. But I think they're on the cusp. If they win 2 or 3 games in a row, then all of a sudden they're with a Champions League shout. So I don't think it's disastrous. I just hope, and I've said this a couple of times, Max, I just hope that Newcastle don't finish 8th in the Premier League, get knocked out quarter-final of the FA Cup, semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and then last 16-32 of the Champions League, because then that's a season of nothing. I just hope that Newcastle can grasp one of the tournaments, go hell for leather, finishing out of the Champions League spot, or potentially win another trophy. And for that, like I said there, that's why Eddie Howe, for me, I don't think he gets an easy ride. I just think he's done a brilliant job.
And he's got all these PSR issues to deal with that other clubs don't seem to have, who've got rich owners. So it is interesting that,
It is, yeah. And actually, look,
both struggle with this.
That 2 points off 5th. Did I say disastrous? That's ridiculous. Hyperbole from that. Disastrous. Anyway, thank you, Army.
The Ashes are disastrous, Max.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know. I still regret having tickets for day 3 at Melbourne. At least I had an afternoon in the pub. Thank you, Harmy. Good stuff, pal. Harmy out in Colombo. The White Ball Tour starts tomorrow. You can hear live and exclusive ball-by-ball commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. We'll have coverage of the 3 ODIs, 3 T20s in England's last series before the T20 World Cup. And the easiest way to listen is to download the talkSPORT app, which is free. The following our podcast is on that as well. All right, it's Max and Andy with you until 4. Miguel Delaney, journalist from The Independent, will join us in just a second. We'll talk about the growing... Well, it's probably not a possibility. It's going too far, but people starting to mention the idea of boycotting the World Cup if Donald Trump invades Greenland. Good afternoon. You are listening to Talk Sport. Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you until 4. We've got commentaries in the Champions League tonight. Marseille, Liverpool, 8 o'clock on Talk Sport. Adrian, your host for that. Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce will be your commentary team. PSV at St James's Park. Cameron Pope and Dean Ashton, your commentary team for that one. That will be over on Talk Sport 2. Andy Goldstein, Darren Bent with Drive, obviously, from 4 o'clock. Going to talk to Miguel Delaney from The Independent in just a second, as Donald Trump is on his feet, has been speaking for over an hour now, I think, about the world. I haven't watched. I've been doing a radio program.
He's a good ad-libber, isn't he, really?
He is a good ad-libber. He has said, speaking to the Europeans, without us, you'd be speaking German and Japanese, perhaps, which is
he's a
diplomatic.
Piece of work, isn't he?
Isn't he? He really is. But what's interesting, and he's interesting, is let's talk to Miguel Delaney from The Independent. Joins us now. Hey, Miguel, you okay?
Hi, Max. Not too bad, not too bad.
There has been, and not a lot of chat, but we saw Claude Leroy, very respected football manager in Africa, talking about boycotting the World Cup. There's a petition in the Netherlands, just in the Netherlands, which has over 100,000 signatures now, saying we should boycott the World Cup. I know that European football leaders met on Monday, I think it was, and talking about what the implications would be if Donald Trump and the US invade Greenland. Trump has said he's not going to use force, but wants to buy it right now, even though it isn't for sale. It will be very interesting to see how this develops over the next few months.
Yeah, and well, FIFA's hope, and from speaking to people close to Infantino over the past 48 hours about this, the hope is it just goes away in the way, to be fair, a lot of controversies with Trump tend to do. Except, of course, this has lingered for some time. And it does, unlike most Trump issues, it of course puts the World Cup squarely in the centre for all sorts of reasons, not least the fact that Denmark have a qualifier in March, or potentially two qualifiers. Obviously, we're talking about kind of traversing European interests, and given that Europe has such an immense presence at the World Cup, and then of course Infantino's own status here and the way he has, and this is actually where this gets really kind of distinctive and actually puts an even greater pressure on FIFA. Because for most of its history, FIFA has basically consciously stayed apolitical, because when something like this happens, you can basically justifiably say you are subject to events beyond your control. Whereas, and that is why they've avoided being politicized. Whereas obviously Infantino has very consciously politicized FIFA. There's so much has been said about his own relationship with Trump, and then separate to kind of elected leaders, his relationship with autocratic leaders like Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Obviously, we have the Peace Prize, quote-unquote Peace Prize, which now looks even more embarrassing than it was. And also how Infantino has so spoken about the power of football. I mean, he's got an Instagram post in 2023 speaking about 2026 World Cup, where he goes on about bringing the world together. The world will be watching. This will be unique, all this sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing slightly there. But, I mean, usually when you talk to people within FIFA about this, the argument is always, oh, well, in his role, he has to accept overtures from, Donald Trump, especially given how demanding Trump can be. But also, when you on the other side of that, when he's talking about kind of elements like autocratic states, the argument from FIFA, again, it's in line with his comments about kind of the 2026 World Cup and what it can be. There's this idea that actually, by integration, football can help curb the worst excesses of autocracies and all this sort of thing, which there's a lot of evidence that's absolutely nonsense. It actually works the other way. But anyway, what Infantino is describing, or what his FIFA has very much articulated, is the idea of a modern sports diplomacy. Well, where is that supposed to be more? Could that be more essential than a situation like this, where he ostensibly has a friendship, if not a close relationship, with the leader of America? He doesn't have the political pressures of other premiers or heads of state. That is the way FIFA see themselves pretty much at this point, or at least the way senior figures see FIFA. This should be where he's supposed to, or we can intermediate. That's the position he's put himself in, especially given this potentially affects his World Cup. But suddenly we wait to see. And as we're waiting to see, there's all sorts of political developments that could, I mean, look, I suppose right now, speaking to people in football, just the kind of general expectation when you read the news, it would still seem quite far-fetched that Trump would invade Greenland. And obviously, as you say, he's spoken about just trying to buy it rather than invade. But equally, even without any of that happening, football right now, or kind of the World Cup and the kind of ecosystem around the World Cup, it does have this situation really. It's not quite an unprecedented crisis yet, but it's been faced with difficulties it's almost never had to think about before. And even I was speaking to a lot of people that close to the top of FIFA and UEFA yesterday, and they're talking about, yes, they're very concerned. That was a direct quote to me, even if I can't put it on the record, or attribute it to anyone, should I say. And also, one element that's really causing concern is actually how it's the precedent of Russia and the invasion of Ukraine and how that eventually brought a ban. Because if the Greenland situation was to escalate, that is a context that would have to be viewed in, even though obviously, although the diplomatic situation does seem to be changing, people would look at it, or states would look at it a different way to Russia. But of course, there is another big difference there, where Russia came after the World Cup, at least the 2022 invasion came out. A lot of people would point to our initial 2014 incursions, whereas this is just before a World Cup, to go with all sorts of other issues like Venezuela. And it's a remarkable situation to be in. And you mentioned a boycott. Yes, it has been raised in certain circles. Some of the European countries already feel they need, European football associations already feel they need to maybe develop a stance themselves, if not out of kind of solidarity with a UEFA partner like Denmark. But even the fact they have to think about all this is remarkable. And there is another element. Yeah. Given this is pretty much a game of diplomacy, a lot of governments, it's not been said outright yet, apart, as you say, it's been mentioned in Germany, there's a petition in the Netherlands. People are going to realise the World Cup is a very useful political football in this. And suddenly, not that you will boycott, but the idea or the discussion of boycotts can become significant political leverage.
What happened to FIFA's statutes about no political interference into football? That's gone out the window, hasn't it, basically?
I mean, well, you can look at any number of FIFA statutes at this point and compare them to what Infantino's FIFA have done. Right up to something that should be mentioned and hasn't been given enough focus, the price of accessibility tickets at the World Cup, and how companions are being made to pay. That goes against FIFA's own statutes on this.
Yeah, he's a disgrace as well. And also, like, from my understanding, Miguel, and you will know much better than me, is there are a lot of people within FIFA who were embarrassed about the peace prize for Trump and are now, think this is ridiculous, but they can't speak on the record. They can't say anything because of how FIFA is set up.
I mean, so this is another huge element to this, so I would say one of the major problems in football, and this goes right up to how the club game is dictated, how only certain teams can win, and kind of, all these sort of issues. A significant problem in this is how the major federations, UEFA and FIFA, they have evolved over time. So where there are these bizarre structures where all the power is basically centered onto an executive president. There's no space for discussion. It's basically a kind of a patronage clientelistic system where, so this has also come up in the World Cup ticket debate where, obviously FIFA and UEFA, they send a certain amount of money to every federation every year. And for some federations, that is obviously extremely valuable. But that just means that money becomes a vote returning mechanism. So it solidifies the powers of these executive presidents. And as has been openly put to me, I wrote about it in my book and a lot of this, State of Play, I had to get a mention. But it's basically that they're not forums for debate. So suddenly you're in a situation where, because FIFA is so built up to an executive president like Infantino, it's basically its governance isn't equipped to handle upheaval like this. It isn't a forum for kind of wise and detached debate about how you properly navigate the situation. And hence, everyone's looking to Infantino. And I'll tell you, Infantino, his Instagram was full of all this stuff about 2026 bringing the world together over the last 2 years. Not much of that in the last 2 days, or reference to any of this.
Interesting. Thank you, Miguel. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, guys. Cheers.
Miguel Delaney from The Independent, and his book, States of Play, is really interesting book, actually.
Yeah, he knows a lot about it. He did just break the Graham Hunter's just-a-minute record for one answer, but then we will let him off. He does know a lot about the subject.
It's a good point. I mean, when you peel back the curtain, it can get bleak. But there we are. We have to talk about all this stuff, and it's important that we do. Latest episode, by the way, of How to Win the World Cup is now available. Matt Ford and Alex Brooker speak to the likes of French World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit, Brazil great Brett Kleberson, plenty of comedians along the way. I listened to the last couple. Yes, it's great. And Fordy has great energy. Alex Brooker, very funny as well. So head over to the talkSPORT YouTube channel, download the talkSPORT app, listen to it now. It's Max and Andy with you for another hour.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Good afternoon with your headlines at 2 minutes past 3. I'm Uma Gurav. Man City are going to refund fans who travelled to watch their shock 3-1 defeat to Bodo Glimt last night. A statement from the club captain stated covering the ticket costs, which comes to just under 10 grand, is the least the players can do. But do City need to part ways with Pep to find their way back to their best? Gabby Bonalhor's not ruling it out.
Maybe they need a fresh change. I mean, I'll be surprised if he left the way he's spending. I mean, to bring in Gahey and Semenyo, Haaland signed a new deal. But I just look at his body language. I look at the team not responding to him at the moment now.
Plenty more Champions League action tonight. Liverpool go to Marseille live on talkSPORT tonight. And with Arne Slot still under pressure, here's what Danny Murphy wants to see from him.
This question mark over his job puts him in a place, I think, where he's got to take a risk. And he's got to go a bit more dynamic and a bit more risk averse, and really at home especially go after teams and take the risk of losing, because the Liverpool fans demand it.
Newcastle host PSV live on talkSPORT 2. In transfers, Jean-Philippe Mateta's told Palace he wants out. Bournemouth have agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian forward Ryan, and Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's availability. Elsewhere today, Man United have reportedly agreed a deal to create a TV show about the club's history in the style of The Crown. And after Morocco confirmed they'll take legal action against Senegal after their manager encouraged the team to walk off the pitch during the AFCON final, African football journalist Asasu Abayuwanes explained what they're hoping to gain.
The Moroccans want Pape Thiaw to be severely punished. And if he is severely punished, that could lead to him missing out on opening games of the World Cup in June.
There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Donald Trump says he's seeking negotiations to acquire Greenland ASAP, but won't use force to get it. And Prince Harry's told the court in his privacy case that the press made his wife's life a misery. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres. Guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Rain and hill snow across Scotland, clearing to sunny spells, a bright start elsewhere, but showery rain for many during the afternoon.
Be there for Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Yes, listen up. Yes. The Super Bowl is just a few weeks away, and we're sending one of you and a friend to San Francisco on the 6th of February to see it live. 3 nights in a hotel, spending money, 2 seats at the game. This is it. The competition closes tomorrow. Get your entry in now. Here's Andy Jacobs to tell you how.
Yes. You have to say yes.
Listen up.
Listen up. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close tomorrow at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's are available at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 right now. Good luck.
Now, John McIntyre's been in touch, and he's not
John McEnroe.
Not John McEnroe. Well, John McIntyre sort of has a similar rage as if John McEnroe had, just the umpire had made a dodgy line call. On the subject of John McIntyre says, "Get this bleep off, Max, the left-wing globalist puppet." I'm not the one trying to acquire Greenland, puppet. John. Like, do me a favour. No, we're just reporting what's. It's so insane that the president of America is saying, "I just want that. Can I have that, please? I'll have that." And that will have an impact on the World Cup. You can call me a globalist puppet, but that's just what's happening at the moment. It's slightly odd for us all, John, but appreciate you getting in touch. Did you hear there, Andy?
I could see you with Satine Sweep. That kind of globalist puppet show. A little Max Rushden.
Diffusing situations in Davos. Here I am. Man United running that, they trying to do something like The Crown for the history of Manchester United is fun, isn't it? Should we cast that? Does Eric Cantona play himself? Of course, because he's an actor.
I haven't read about this. Tell me about this.
It was just in the news. They were just saying they want to commission. Oh, of course.
I'm arranging for a cup of tea.
Lovely.
Do tell me. Do remind me.
Well, all the information I have is that Manchester United are thinking about, I guess, putting their history, but in a sort of a fictional
Crown
setting.
style.
Crown style. So there we are.
Well, Claire Foy is a young Sir Alex, and then they sort of get progressively older.
Yeah, that's nice. Who plays current Sir Alex Ferguson? That's good. But Cantona can obviously play himself because he's an established actor.
That's true.
But the rest of them we have to bring in actors to, who will play Paul Parker? Who will be Arthur Albiston?
Brooklyn
in the
Beckham
Manchester
as
United
David
story.
Beckham.
That's really good.
Do you think if he was offered the part, do you think he'd take it?
I don't know. I've tried not to get involved in that story. Rupert Grint as Paul Scholes says this one. Yes, it is. I don't know if I have any strong feelings about the Beckhams.
Yeah,
really.
but the thing is, it's juicy, isn't it? And we all,
Oh yeah, I've read it.
From the
and
Guardian
the
to the
good.
Sun, every paper in Marina hides an old big thing on it. No one's too important not to do it. It's a big thing, really. In our society, in the way life is now, it's fascinating. And what I find amazing is that
tell me.
It says, as well as the legal letter, the Beckhams are said to be releasing their own statement on Instagram as an olive branch directed straight to Brooklyn. Why not just send him a letter? Why is it? He's right, Brooklyn. Why have they got to do? I've said this for years. Why have they got to do everything? Like, she calls him at David Beckham. I mean, it's pathetic that, like when she does a post. It's rubbish, that, honestly. And, he criticises social media, but that's what all your money comes from that, from monetising social media.
Do you know what's really interesting? Because I have this, I find social media so ridiculous, but it's also quite fun. So I quite like, everyone was doing 2016, I was in 2016, look at me with my dark hair. And so, I just went to 2016 and I found someone had punched a hole in my car, so I posted that. And then I had hives, so I had 2 pictures of me with hives, and then there was a picture of a shopping basket with some carrots and some hummus, and going, this is my 2016. But actually, if the really interesting is, if you post sincere nonsense like, I love isn't my wife she's so wonderful, I love my children, are so lovely. If you post that stuff, you get much more reaction, and you can monetize, people can monetize that. I can't be bothered, and maybe I'm I just can't take it seriously.
Well,
but
they get money per post, and it's quite a lot of money. But I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't it, really? I mean, there's one report from a week or so ago. It says David Beckham uses a cuddly toy as a pillow after dancing himself into a slumber. Wife Victoria shared a photo of the England footy hero, Sparko. It's like they can't do anything. They can't do anything without it being on social media, which is bonkers. And meanwhile, estranged daughter-in-law Nicola Peltz, wed to son Brooklyn, shared a selfie in a face mask during a pamper day. I mean, who cares? Honestly. Yeah. But people do. People sort of addicted to it.
That is the one. People are addicted to social media. David Tennant as 80s Sir Alex. John McIntyre calling me a globalist puppet says, you didn't deny it, did you, Max? Brian Cox from Succession. Yes, says Anthony. Another... not the other Brian Cox for Fergie, of course. Wes says, of all the players, I was just thinking, who will play Paul Parker? Jennifer Lawrence is already signed up to play Diego Forlan. Says Dan.
It's not bad, is it? You've got to say. This is an interesting one when I say that.
Okay.
Yorkshire folk.
I'll be the judge.
Yorkshire
folk.
Yorkshire folk have the most meat or fish sandwiches, rolls and baps in Britain. Data shows they have 4 a day on average. Do you know anybody that eats 4 sandwiches a day? I've never met anybody.
4 fish sandwiches a day. If you live in Leeds, so this can't be true.
Does seem unlikely, doesn't it?
I tend to stop at 3 meat sandwiches.
I don't know. I mean, how many? What's the most sandwiches you've ever eaten in one? Maybe 2. I don't think people ever eat more than 2, do they?
I mean, I suspect the world record is higher than 2. But
actually, on my Instagram, all I get is Katz's Deli in New York. I think I once liked a post, and all I've got now is the same bloke making a different massive sandwich. And it's far too much for one person. And then they put all this horrible, what looks like vomit on it, but I think it's Russian salad. I don't get it. And it keeps coming.
It's unlikely to be vomit. Let's face it, it is unlikely to be vomit. All things considered.
It's ludicrous. Then there was another one that said, our sandwiches are bigger than theirs. And it's like, it's so big. I mean, you couldn't even get your mouth around it. I don't really get that, but there we go.
I'm going to say I'm with you. I suspect the most number of sandwiches I've had in a day, unless you have to sit, if I'd been on a picnic where there were small cucumber sandwiches back in the Rushden youth, that's slightly different. But really, it's 2. And I'm going to say you can count on one hand the times I've had more than one sandwich in a day. But on many occasions have I had 1 sandwich in a day, I would say, but not 4. I'm with you. I'm not with Yorkshire folk.
No, well, I don't blame you. Now, do you want to choose a number from one of my old stories that I haven't been able to use?
Absolutely do. Yes, please.
Okay, well, the numbers go up to about 102. I cut them down. They were 200, but I got rid of some of the worst ones.
I would like number 75.
Number 75. Let's hope it hasn't been taken. If not, I'll just substitute 74. Here we are, number 75. Oh, here we go. Another important story. Supermodel Kate Moss and singer Rita Ora were out in front of the fashion show putting feud rumours to bed.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know. They were feared to have fallen. Who feared that they'd fallen out?
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I was worried sick. Yeah. I woke up in a cold sweat. Are Kate Moss and who was the other one?
Rita Ora.
Are Kate Moss and Rita Ora still friends? I do hope so. Do you want one from me?
Yes,
this is because obviously when I
Does it have
emigrated,
a number, or is it just the
it doesn't have a number. When I emigrated, I brought all the H&J stuff I hadn't used, and this is. It looks like from the Daily Star. I don't have a date. I'm going to say 2019, and I've written next to it the possible text topic. Here we go. A secret doorway for the procession to the coronation banquet of Charles II has been discovered in the House of Commons. Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Commons Speaker, said, "I'm so proud of our staff for making this discovery. For around 70 years, the door's been remained hidden and forgotten behind wooden panelling." And the text topic that I've come up with is, have you ever been through a secret doorway? So, no, if there are any Masons listening, 81089. It's niche, but you never know.
It's so niche.
That's what we do. We've cancelled all the guests, and for the next 45 minutes, it's just your secret doorway stories.
I've never been in a secret doorway, I have to admit.
I don't think I've been down a secret doorway.
I don't think anybody has, have they? Well, there we go.
I mean, we'll find out, won't we? If they haven't, it'd just be quite an awkward 45 minutes of
radio.
radio.
That was well worth taking all the way to Australia, that story. I'd love it if you'd been, that programme that they have, Australian Customs, Border Force. This man's trying to smuggle in some terrible old stories from Hawksby and Jacobs.
Well, I'll tell you a story if we have 2 minutes, with apologies to Alex Crook. I'm trying to think. We landed back in Australia last August. And we get to the carousel. So we've flown for 24 hours, right? We've done the London to Perth, 16 and a half hours. We've got one child at the time. So one child, Jamie, I think might be pregnant. And he is running around, so I'm chasing him. And she sees her baggage, one of our bags on the carousel. So she walks to get it. And she comes back, and there is border force by the trolley with another bag going, "You have left this bag on your own, on its own. How dare you?" She's yelling at my wife, right?
Oh, for
this
goodness
is the most horrible person on earth, this woman. I hate her so much still. So I get back with the 2-year-old. We're all exhausted. She says, "We're going to check your bags for everything." I'm like, okay. So anyway, so then we just check. We haven't left something in the bag. We check everything. We go through the sniffer dogs and all this, right? And everyone else is lovely except this the meanest woman on earth, right? Anyway, at the bottom of a plastic bag, she finds an apple and she takes it out like it's 10 kilos of heroin, right? She goes into bear in mind, we've been flying for 24 hours, right? She goes into a room for 10 minutes, right? And she comes back out. And she puts this apple on the table. This is like a Larry David sketch. She puts the apple on the table, right? So there's 3 of us, right? It's me, Jamie, and young Ian Rushden. And she says, "What is this?" Right? So I'm so close. I'm so angry. I'm like, "What is this?" Meanwhile, the 2-year-old is just saying apple on loop because he likes eating apples.
Yeah.
So we're like, "It's an apple." And then she says, "And what is its purpose?" What's its purpose? It's an apple. What do you think its purpose? Well, we were going to come into Australia and plant it underneath the Sydney Opera House until it grew its apple tree and it tore it down, you moron. I'm you're seething, but the power imbalance is just so unfair. So then she says, "Okay." And she walks back out and she comes back 5 minutes later and she says, "The fine for bringing an apple into this country is $2,000. And you're like, "Oh, you're absolutely." I'm sort of puce with rage. She says, "I will let you off now." But she says, "But you are both grown adults and you filled out the form and you should know better." And oh my God,
do you think they've been believing their publicity? They know it's on telly. They start to get this, chuck their weight about. It does sound like.
Do you know what? It was almost worth the $2,000 to tell her what I thought, but it was unbearable. But there we are. Anyway, you are listening to Rushden Jacobs. It was cathartic. Thank you for letting me tell that story. Rushden Baker from talkSPORT.
I look forward to watching it on Border Force next week. This young man has brought in an apple.
An apple? What is its purpose? It's an apple, for goodness sake. I'm finding it hard not to swear now. Anyway, thank you, Tool Station. One step ahead, whatever the job. Next up, Tool Station. Alex Crook is next.
transfer window. Breaking news on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Hi, good afternoon. Max Rushden and Andy Jacobs with you until 4 on talkSPORT. James in Barry says, I thought this Apple story was reserved for the award-winning Game Day shows. Midweek listeners don't deserve this gold. Meanwhile, Mark says, I've just seen David Batty chowing down on his 8th sandwich of the day, so stacks up, he says. Anyway, let's get a transfer update thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Alex Crook is our chief football correspondent. Joins us now. Hey, Crookie, you good?
Yeah, very well. We're on the home straight now, aren't we, on this transfer window?
Well, yes. I mean, all the action still to come, surely, though. Not a lot. There hasn't been, apart from Manchester City, not a lot going on, has there, really?
Well, the managers have kept us entertained, haven't they, since the turn of the year, from Maresco to Amorim and obviously Oliver Glasner and Thomas Frank over the weekend. But, yeah, you're right. I still think there is plenty of business to be done. Manchester City dominating the market and dominating the news today as well, actually. We've just heard in the last, 20 minutes or so that the Manchester City players are going to club together and refund the fans who made that long trip to the Arctic Circle last night. Of course, City beat them 3-1 by Bodo Glimt in, well, one of the biggest shocks in modern Champions League history, I would suggest. And we're told the players have come together. They're going to refund the best part of £10,000. We've got a statement from their captains, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz, Rodri and Erling Haaland, and they say our supporters mean everything to us. We know the sacrifices our fans make when they travel across the world to support us home and away, and we'll never take it for granted. They are the best fans in the world. We recognise there was a lot of travelling for the fans who supported us in the freezing cold throughout a difficult evening on the pitch. Covering the cost of those tickets for the fans who travelled to Bodo is the least we can do. So there you go, a little heartwarming story for you,
Yeah,
boys.
it's a nice gesture, but I don't know about you, but I'm fed up with all these footballers apologising. The one after the Brahim Diaz the other day, it was pathetic. Look, mate, you missed a penalty. It happens. It's football. You know, I just don't get this idea that you've got to prostrate yourself, you know, to sort of like, you know,
Yes.
I'm so
Who was the
sorry.
Man United one? Shea Lacey, wasn't it?
Rubbish, isn't it? I mean, all right,
I will,
it's football.
yeah.
People make mistakes. It happens. You lose games. I'd never, if Chelsea lose a game, I'm never going to be placated by, you know, Enzo Fernandez saying to me, I'm really, really sorry, Andy. You know, it's not going to happen, is it?
No, but I do like the idea of, you know, somebody saying
a personal apology there.
Yeah, a City fan saying, do you know what the City fan saying? Do you know what? I was actually in Buenos Aires and I flew first class to Bodo Glimt. So can I have £35,000, please? I agree. Look, City fans are going to like it. I think it's not a stupid idea, but I'm with you, Andy. Like, you know, if as a Cambridge fan, if every time I'd seen Cambridge lose, they'd refunded me, like the whole club would be broke. The club, every fan, they'd be broke, wouldn't they? Should we get on to some transfer stuff, Crookie? What's the latest with Ruben Loftus-Cheek? I didn't know there was anything happening with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Where might he go?
Well, this is a story we reported in the Notebook yesterday. Obviously appears every Tuesday on the talkSPORT website that Ruben Loftus-Cheek was being touted around to various Premier League clubs, including Manchester United, who could be in the market for a midfielder between now and the end of the window. And I did think then, well, Aston Villa, if they were to pick up any more injuries, maybe they could be part of the conversation. And right on cue, Boubacar Kamara ruled out for the rest of the season. Oh, really? And my understanding is there have been conversations between Aston Villa and AC Milan where Ruben Loftus-Cheek is at the moment, and they are exploring the conditions of a potential loan deal. And I think much like Conor Gallagher, the attraction for Loftus-Cheek being back in the Premier League is that maybe he could catch the eye of Thomas Tuchel, because, of course, he was recalled for the squad and came off the bench for the friendly against Wales last year. So not beyond the realms of fantasy that he's still part of Tuchel's plans potentially for the World Cup.
I've seen so much of him growing up as a teenager. He's such a frustrating player because he's got something about him. There's no question about it, but it's kind of basically unfulfilled career, I'd say. I mean, you could laugh and say, well, yeah, I played for Chelsea and AC Milan, so it's not that.
Speaks well of you, Andy,
no,
of course.
No, but you know what I mean? In terms of his actual talent, yeah, exactly like me, not fulfilling myself. But no, do you know what I mean? I just think he's better than he's actually ever really shown.
He was on mega money, wasn't he, at Chelsea, which was one of the issues when he was going out on loan. Clubs couldn't really afford to sign him permanently. But you're right, there's clearly a very talented player there. He has had some injuries along the way, which I think would put a few teams off.
What about Mateta? What's going to happen to him?
Well, this is one that could rumble right up until the end of the window, because it's.
I'm hoping
it
happens before Sunday.
I'm not sure it will, but it's going to be fascinating, actually, the reaction from the Palace fans to Oliver Glasner, because I do think his comments post-match at the weekend divided opinion amongst those supporters. They've obviously lost their captain. They lost Eberechi Eze last summer. Mateta is still under contract, so they're going to need a club to meet their asking price, which we understand to be around £40 million. He's looking for about 150 grand a week wherever he goes next. We know there's interest from Juventus, Aston Villa if they can't get Tammy Abraham, and possibly AC Milan as well. They were certainly sniffing in the summer. So big clubs in for Mateta, but they're going to have to source a replacement, Palace, aren't they? They can't afford to let him go without bringing in another centre-forward.
Yes, poor Brennan Johnson, just going from one bin fire to another and then just going, he'll just be there on his own. Going, what's happened here? I didn't sign up for this. Anyway, Quickie, thanks for coming on, pal. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Our chief football correspondent there, Alex Crook. Jerry in Daventry's been in touch, Andy, to say, I stumbled quite literally on a secret doorway one night. Here we go. After a particularly enjoyable Queen tribute night. It was in my hotel room next to the bathroom door. On entering the closed door behind me quietly so as not to wake my wife, it was around the 10-second mark when I realised I was naked in one of the hotel corridors. Thankfully, although a painfully long time later, I managed to stumble upon an open laundry cupboard. My wife looked a little dubious as she opened the hotel bedroom door to find me partially covered in a toga like ensemble. we didn't stay for breakfast, says Jerry. So it was worth asking the question.
It was a
wasn't
good question. I liked it.
And Toby Jones is Scholesy. Honestly, it's always been Toby Jones is Scholesy for the Man United, the Man United crown story. Anyway, Max and Charlie. No, you're not Charlie. You're Andy.
Well, no, not really.
As I said, when it gets to the third hour,
I know.
You can forgive me. My first mistake of the day.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, you were up really early. In your time, in your morning, at our time, we were watching the
I've got a
Spurs game.
1-year-old. 4 a.m. 4 a.m. I was up 3 hours before the Spurs game. Honestly, it's an endless day, but I have lots of sleeps all day. I'm sort of like a cat, really, like a cat in many ways. Apart from I go to the toilet inside in a toilet. It is. We'll do Paddy's challenge next.
told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. After the win over Dortmund, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook has told us the board are still divided.
Thomas Frank will be in charge for Burnley away at the weekend. I think he's brought himself a little bit of time. There are still members of the board who I think are uncertain about his future long term, but equally there are still some in the hierarchy who are pushing for patience.
talkSPORT's Danny Murphy has told White and Jordan Arsenal are too strong for a depleted Man City in the title race.
Even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and then, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
City lost at Bodo Glimt to give themselves a nervous final group game with Galatasaray next week. Arsenal are already into the knockouts after brushing Inter aside. Transfer news, and we're hearing Bournemouth have agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. They see the Vasco da Gama winger as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's availability, and that Jean-Philippe Mateta's made it clear to the Palace hierarchy he wants to move away from the club. In the cricket, Harry Brook says he's lucky to still be England white ball captain. He's now said sorry to his teammates for an altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a rotten Ashes tour. Bumbles told talkSPORT that's 1 strike for the young Brook.
But he has to be reminded of his responsibilities. He's representing the country, and that sort of behaviour. He's been read the Riot Act, I know that, and he was fined £30,000 as well. And so they would hope that that's been dealt with and he learns from it.
Paddy's Challenge on talkSPORT with Hawksby and Jacobs. What critics are calling one of the many radio quiz segments happening this week. Paddy Power. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Just seen, Andy, that Prue Leith is leaving the Bake Off. Do you fancy it? That would be good for
Really?
you.
Oh, yeah, I'd be great on that. Yeah, definitely. Because funny enough, I've been experimenting with Eskimo Quizzy with my Inuit cookbooks.
Oh, lovely. Good stuff.
I thought you'd like that.
What's your speciality? Walrus, is it?
Not really, no. Anyway, we've got to get to Paddy's.
You haven't? Oh, is that right? I like you say not really, no, just in case anyone listening thought you had been doing Eskimo cuisine. Time now for Paddy's Challenge, our quiz for charity in association with our friend and official betting partner, Paddy Power in Paddy's Challenge. Well, Fletch, you can tell us all about it, can't you? I don't need to explain what it is. You know what it is.
Back for this section.
Welcome, Fletch.
You're contractually obliged to, but allow me to do the heavy lifting, Max. Yeah, good afternoon.
Please,
Paddy's Challenge. You literally be asked 3 multiple choice questions posed by the voice of Paddy Power, Alistair McGowan. The winner will be the player that scores the most points in the event of a tie. You'll both win the chance to raise some cash for your charities. Last time we played, Danny Kelly won for Team Max, and I can say this, he backed both teams to score in last weekend's Premier League game between Tottenham and West Ham. That ended in a 2-1 win. Oh, that was quite good, don't you?
Quite
and not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
For the Hammers, which had another 31.43. £31.43 for the Sporting Memories pot. So well done, Danny, for you, Max.
Yeah, good.
Let's see if we can raise some more cash for your charities this week. The virtual coin toss has taken place off air, as it always does, and has done for the last 5 years. And nearly 6. And it is decreed that Andy will be going first on this occasion.
Okay.
So if
Good luck, Andy.
If the
May the best man win.
Not enough needle. If the highly paid technical team are ready,
Well,
Andy, here comes your first question.
Depends whether I get the easy set.
Well,
here we go.
According to sports industry site Sportico, who topped the list of 2025's highest paid athletes? A. Cristiano Ronaldo. B. Canelo Alvarez. Or C. LeBron James.
Oh, that is a very
tricky question.
I'm going to go...
I think they're all comfortable, I would say.
Yes, I think
they're all doing okay.
I'm going to go LeBron.
Oof.
Ooh,
it's
wrong.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah, with $260 million. Canelo Alvarez was second with $137 million. Lionel Messi, $130 million.
260 million for playing in that league is brilliant, isn't it?
Same,
you have to hand it to him.
Exactly.
He's not even pressing. Not even doing a high press. Outrageous.
Barely breaking a sweat. Max, here comes your first question.
Thank you.
The sky above which Championship Football Club stadium turned pink last week? A. Swansea. B. Hull City. Or C. Birmingham City.
Is this the Aurora Borealis, is it? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Tremendous.
I'm
He used to
gonna
play for
say-
Milan, didn't he?
He did, yeah. When I think of a bald player,
It's
I think of-
Aurora Borealis.
yeah. I'm going to say Hull City.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Is incorrect. It was actually Birmingham City, and the cause, in case it comes up in the pub quiz later on, was LED grow lights on the pitch.
Oh, right.
So how about that? So both of you have missed your first penalties, if I can put it that way. Andy, here comes your second clue.
Okay.
In the first NBA regular season match to be hosted in London since 2019, the Grizzlies beat Orlando Magic 126 to 109 last weekend. Which US city do the Grizzlies call home? A. Memphis, Tennessee. B. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Or C. Miami, Florida.
It's Memphis, isn't it?
1 point to Andy.
Absolutely right. The O2 Arena in London, full of famous NBA fans, including footballers Virgil van Dijk and Declan Rice, F1 driver Kimi Antonelli, and actress of James Bond fame, among others, Rosamund Pike. So there we go. So 1-0 to you, Andy. Pressure's on you slightly, Max. Here comes your second question.
Okay, here we go.
Kyron Wilson won the Masters snooker for the first time last weekend. How many times had Wilson previously reached the final and lost? A. Once. B. Twice. C. Never. This was his first Masters final.
I mean, never.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh, why didn't you know that? Don't you keep up with snooker in Australia?
Well, I'm just... So I thought Bill Werbeneck had won, and so I'm just out of touch. Although Ed does say Igloo Macari, Eskimo footballers, so that's nice.
Igloo footballers. I'll have to wrap my brain for one or two of those. The correct answer was twice, by the way. The Warrior came through an edgy Masters final with John Higgins to prevail 10-6 at Ali Pali to bank £350,000 in prize money. £350,000, the average salary in junior middle management corner. Andy, here comes your third and final question.
Okay.
Moroccan talisman Brahim Diaz won the AFCON Golden Boot last weekend. How many goals did Diaz score in the tournament? A. 5. B. 4. Or C. 7.
Poor old Max, he's definitely going now. He's 5.
How dare you?
Good one.
5.
Absolutely.
You're right, you've won.
5 different matches. Diaz joined an elite list of players in AFCON history who found the net in multiple consecutive games in a single tournament. Grace under that one. It's snooker on one channel, AFCON on the other.
That's true. Max has lost, so he's going to have to apologise to the listeners afterwards profusely.
He's going to, but in the interest of hashtag force fun, we will have his third and final question.
Yeah, no, I'm looking
just
forward
to see how he would have
Okay,
gone.
here we go.
So, Max, here comes question 3.
Okay, thank you.
Senegal won the Africa Cup of Nations in dramatic fashion on Sunday, with Papa Gueye scoring the winner in extra time. Which Moroccan player missed the chance to seal victory in normal time when his Panenka penalty was saved by Edouard Mendy? A. Brahim Diaz. B. Akraf Hakimi. Or C. Ayoub El Kabi.
I enjoyed the pronunciation of Hakimi.
I'll get it wrong deliberately.
I will go with Brahim Diaz.
Pick that one out.
You're absolutely right. Described on social media as a candidate for the worst penalty in football history, Diaz left visibly shocked and he had tears in his eyes as he finished the game on the bench. Worst penalty in history, though, Max, you may remember this one. Remember the name? Peter Devine, Lancaster City?
Of course. Yeah,
one for the 90s vintage. So congratulations to you, Andy. You are today's winner. You've won a free £20 bet that Paddy Power will place for you, so you can try and win some cash for your charity. It just remains for me to ask, what are you going to go for?
I hadn't expected to win, so that's a bit tricky. I suppose I could do... I don't think Chelsea and Paphos, I'm not sure both teams will score. All right, I'll go David Luiz to be booked.
Okie dokie. We'll see how you get on and reveal the winnings next week.
Thank you, Fletch.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Great.
That's us.
That is this week's challenge in the book. I was,
Well, it was
that was
great.
a polite thank you. I was expecting him to say that's all right. It seemed like friendly conversation. Thanks to our friends at Paddy Power. Thanks to Fletch. Thanks to Alistair McGowan. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Paddy's Challenge on talkSPORT with Paddy Power. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Well, there are atmospheres, and then there is St James's Park.
It goes into the penalty area, bounces kindly for Harvey Barnes, and he's done it again.
It is a point apiece.
We've been really strong in our performance, but we haven't come away with what I felt we deserved in both of those games.
I think overall, the squad's got better. Competition for places is better.
It's pulled back to Driewerk, 4-1, emphatic finish. His second, PSV's fourth.
I think it's a really hard game. Marseille are playing good football. They're scoring buckets of goals.
Goes in towards the near post, and it's Aubameyang again, getting across his marker.
And there have been some boos as Liverpool have not got it over the line.
That's their aim, is a top four and maybe on the way win silverware. I think their best chances are probably that is Champions League.
All into the near post, and it in! Virgil van Dijk rises highest.
They seem to have turned a bit of a corner after a real sticky period, but tonight's a real test for them.
Live commentaries on talkSPORT. Liverpool's trip to Marseille, 8 o'clock on talkSPORT, and Newcastle home to PSV on talkSPORT 2. Emil Eski, Emil Husky, Declan Ice, Seal Shipley, and Diego Godinuit, and lots of people saying Eskimo Salah. Is he back? Is Salah back in the squad? I should know these things. Let's talk to
he is back.
Tony Cascarino, played for Marseille, of course. We can look ahead to that Liverpool game and all the other games if we want to. Hey, Cass, you okay?
Hiya, Max. Hiya, Andy.
Good, thanks, Tony. And, of course, you know all about Marseille and playing in Marseille. It's always been a difficult place to go to, whatever the situation between the two leagues.
Yeah, Andy, it's it can be hostile, it can be toxic, and it also can be really feisty where, you know, the fans just love European football. Obviously, Marseille, first time ever of any French club to win the Champions League, as it was then the European Cup back in '93. I joined the year after in '94 when they'd been relegated, and them scars of relegation always sits badly with Marseille fans, but it will be one hell of an atmosphere tonight. And the fact it's Liverpool as well, you know, with great history in European competition. And Marseille, they score loads of goals and they concede loads of goals. And I've got to say, Roberto De Zerbi's done a magnificent job with Marseille, because there's about 5 or 6 Premier League players that are playing for Marseille this year. So it's really built up to be an entertaining game. I can't, envisage a 0-0 draw at all with these two teams.
It's interesting you mentioned...
Actually,
oh, go on.
That's all right. I was going to say, because De Zerbi is such a difficult job, that, and there are managers, previous managers, who just, if you fall foul of the fans, and we obviously see that a lot with managers, you know, they have such sway, almost too much sway, actually, at Marseille.
Yeah, you're right, Max, and it's a battle, because Marseille is always a club that is surrounded by controversy. It has always been that. It was there like that when I was there, and years after. It's just expectation, and it's a fallen giant. On its badge has got droit à but, which means go straight to goal, and they've played, in my opinion, too many times conservative football. De Zerbi is very Klopp-like. You know, the way he sets up his team, the way they play, everything about them is to get goals. You know, you think that, you know, players like Højbjerg, who's at Tottenham, you've had Angel Gomez, who's at Lille and played for England, and you've got a number of others. Emerson, that Andy would know from Chelsea days and West Ham, Aubameyang. Mason Greenwood has absolutely won the hearts of the fans over him in France with his performances, and De Zerbi's got a real tune out of Aubameyang and Greenwood. Their work rate has been upped enormously, so it's a far more trickier opposition, but I just think this is a really great European tie.
There's going to be a managerial merry-go-round at the end of the season in the summer, and you'd imagine De Zerbi will be part of that. And I think a lot of English clubs will look at him and think, yeah, you know, possibly even United, somebody like that. So can you envisage him coming back here? I can.
I do, and I want Arne Slot to, you know, try and turn this season around. Although they're fourth, but they've not played nowhere near as last year. I want him to try and turn things around in European Cup competitions. But if there was ever a vacancy and De Zerbi was available, I know that I'd want to do if I was Liverpool. That would be one manager I'd certainly look at, because he hasn't got the funds and the transfer ability to go after some of the best players in Europe, and he overachieves with his teams. That's what he did with Brighton, and he's doing it with Marseille. So yes, you're right, Andy. There will be clubs that will look at him. They're third at the moment. This season alone, they've drawn with PSG twice, home and away. So there's lots of good signs of improvement from the club.
It'd be interesting.
A win for Liverpool. I was going to say, a win for Liverpool is so key, right? Because they've got Qarabag at home in the next game, which they almost certainly will win. So if they can win this one, it means no playoff, basically. And it's so relentless, the fixture list now. Just to avoid playing 2 football matches is huge.
Yeah, and you saw that a bit with, Arsenal made a number of changes last night and managed to get the victory and put themselves in a really great position. And, Liverpool have to get that victory. It will be tough out there because Marseille play with high intensity. And one thing that Liverpool haven't done enough of this year is the intensity which they've experienced under Klopp and certain periods of last season where Liverpool had it but have lost it a bit this season. They can be flat at times. It's a little bit more slower from midfield into the forwards. And they've had a huge number of injuries in that area. So, yeah, it's the competition is demanding. Obviously, with more games, you're getting more, jeopardy involved. But it's a big ask to go there and get the type of victory and performance that's required.
We've been comparing leagues between, the Premier League and all the European leagues, and the Premier League teams are doing pretty well. Not all of them, obviously. City had a bit of a setback, but it will be interesting to see how Liverpool go because they have struggled a bit in the league, but they don't lose a lot, so you'd expect they get something out of the game.
Andy, they've had obviously the start of the season, they won a number of games. Then they couldn't get a win for a number of games. And now they've gone back to type where they're not losing games, but there's a lot of draws in there as well. So Liverpool just not had the conviction what we saw last year. And French football, whatever you say about it, they always produce loads of younger players that get sold on and moved on. French football cannot compete. Apart from PSG, there isn't another French club that can compete financial with wages, revenue, transfer fees. They can't. But they can produce lots of promising players.
And then Newcastle, we should look at that one, shouldn't we, Max, as well? And
yeah, why not? How do you see that? Because Newcastle and Chelsea both on the same points, right? Both really need a win if they want to have a chance of getting in that top 8. How do you see Newcastle against PSV, Kes?
Well, I think Newcastle at their best when they have that way of playing which the wingers are really important, whether it's Murphy, Gordon, Harvey Barnes. I think that area of the pitch is where they're really strong. They haven't been as good as away from home as you'd expect. The draw against Wolves, and I saw them at Brentford where I didn't think they played too well this season. I was at the game. And I just feel there's more to come from Newcastle. PSV, Eredivisie team, haven't seen too much of them, so I can't talk too much about them. But what I do know, that if Newcastle get their game plan right under Eddie Howe, they can hurt many, many teams in Europe.
And actually, Newcastle, their last game against PSG, who lost yesterday because PSG won that game. They lost in the last minutes of Sporting. PSG could have relaxed, but they won't, and that makes that Newcastle game more important. Chelsea played Paphos finally, Cass. What do you make of that one?
I can only see one way, and look, Andy's a lifelong supporter and he knows better than me, Chelsea, but I do think there's a lot in the Chelsea team. I love lots of good things about them. But I also feel, and this has been well said before by many others, is that just a little bit of experience in certain positions where they just nurture the team around, because Chelsea have got a lot of really good, I like Reece James. I think he's a real hell of a talent. He's improved so much over the years. I think there's more to come from Delap. I also would think that Pedro as well. I think Neto's a hell of a player. Enzo Fernandez likewise. Just in that defensive heart of their defence there, they can't really find that partnership. Obviously, Colwell's still injured and will be out for still a period of time. But there's a lot of good things there.
Yeah, I agree.
Cass, yeah, always nice to chat. Chat to you soon.
All right, boys. All the best.
Yeah, Cass on Weekend Sports Breakfast. Kev United Red does say, I'm Max and Andy. Why does Cass sound like he's shouting up to you through an open window?
Because he is. He's outside, actually.
Yeah, he's outside. That's what he does. Yeah. And like 17 floors down. So he has got to yell, hasn't he? Pingu Odemwingi says, stacking the blue nose.
We didn't even ask for this, did we, really?
I think we sort of did.
Oh, did
we did massively, didn't we? Oh, well, that's, that's a radio programme. We've done what we were asked to do, Andy. We turned up, we delivered. It was a tour de force of broadcasting.
Well, it was very enjoyable as ever with you. Thank you so much for staying up.
Well, I've sort of felt duty bound. I did get a message from one of management telling me to sit up because on the YouTube I was sinking down and down, so my face was below the big screen that says, how will Chelsea do? So those graphics, and I'm just slowly sinking. But I think after, when it gets to 2:45 in the morning, fair low. The fact that I'm even talking to anyone, I deserve a medal, and you should all be thankful. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Tool Station, as well. Drive is next with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent.